Let me know when you've checked the stream and the volume. Oh, and do you want to update?
The stream title?
Yeah.
Yeah. The stream just started for me, so I'm gonna be able to check sound now.
Cool.
Just say something a little bit.
I mean, yeah, we've been talking. Totally a thing.
Yeah.
Oh, you got people freaking calling me. Tell me how it sounds.
Sounds good.
Cool. You want to update the stream title?
Yep. Title's updated.
Sweet. Alright, welcome ladies and gentlemen to another At What Cost 5v5 cast. I'm TheSource. Joining me, as always, is Azaraki Dragon, and this is our cast of the DGSL2 finals that happened last weekend. I want to apologize for the delay. We're normally getting these out on Thursdays, but this was the cast of technical difficulties and video errors and a bunch of other crap that got in the way of just getting the video together. So I want to apologize for the lateness, but we're here and we should be ready to go in just a minute.
Ready to go in just a minute is correct. Hello everyone in chat. I am Azaraki.
Oh man, I'm tired. Are you as tired as I am? I feel like
Yeah,
I feel
I
like
don't
today's just a
know.
tiring day.
Part of it is I mowed the lawn and it's really hot, and I was just after I was done with that, I'm like, ah. That's my mood right now. Is
Yeah, I feel you. Alright, so gonna swap over to the other overlay. Again, if you guys are unfamiliar with the way we do things for these 5v5 casts, we've gone through the trouble of getting our hands on the video perspectives of the two teams. We have Tulse from BOB and Spinal Dash from One's Para. So we'll be following those two players. Hopefully they give us as much coverage of the map as possible. Sometimes we just get stuck in a lane, so we'll do whatever, we'll do what we got.
We do what we got. That's right.
Let's see, 1, 2,
Get on our level.
1, 2, 3. So
I forgot to tweet this out.
And make with the social media-ing while I double check that we
Fuck! Did you get a Reddit thread up?
Yes, there's a Reddit thread out.
Yes.
I got the Reddit thread up an hour ago, dude.
Yeah, I was outside when that happened, so I had no idea whether or not it went up.
Alright, so as you guys can see, we've got Tulse on one side, we've got Spinal Dash on the other, and in a minute we'll be ready to get this rolling as soon as Azaraki is set.
Yeah, just twittering things.
Making with the social media.
Of the DGSL finals.
Make with all the twittering.
And then I have to retweet it, and... Okay, so...
You ready?
Yes. We're just gonna start the Wen's Para video at the beginning, right?
Yes, the One's Para video, or well, you're gonna... You may have some syncing issues, but we'll see.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah,
We'll try it.
We'll find a way to get you.
This is hopefully the last time we'll have to cast like this.
Hopefully. I don't think
When's
that there...
Gamescom?
Gamescom is next weekend, and there shouldn't be any more major tournaments, with the exception of ATG, which is later today, that we will do any more of these of. But we'll see. We'll see. So, either way, we'll start Spinals in 3, 2, 1. So, we'll first be following Spinal's video. And
he's got the picks and bans.
He does have the picks and bans, so we're already most of the way through picks and bans. You've got
a dibs ban for Tulse.
There's a Diz ban for Tulse. There's also a Mina ban, which has been fairly dangerous. King of Masks ban, I think a little bit directed towards Spinal. Tulse also plays it too, so neither team wanted them to get that. Again, another pretty strong initiating mage, Amaranth. Picks, we do have Basco for the Mortal side, which I believe is BOB. Yeah, the Mortal side is BOB, so they have Basco, and then Zeri, Basco in the jungle, Zeri, Desecrator, god, why was that so hard, for their tacticians, and then Ashabel and Baryon as their two gladiators, I'm assuming.
Yes, and to answer a question in chat, we're actually casting this post-tournament, so the tournament has already happened. It happened last week.
Yes.
And I believe Vex Gaming played in it. Did they?
In the DGSL finals, no. I don't know if Vex Gaming...
Well, not finals, but...
this was... I don't know if they were in the championship.
Finals, right?
I'd have to go back and check again. I can actually check it real quick. They're actually in the next tournament, the tournament going on later today. Vex was not in this tournament, no. So Vex didn't manage to make it into this tournament. They are in the ATG later today. Both Vex teams actually are in ATG later today, so you guys should definitely go check that out after you've watched this.
Yep. So let's go to the Wen's Para...
And boom. And I think I have them synced. I'm off by about 1.
Alright, I'm getting this word here.
So anyway, the Wen's Para picks. I have to mute the streams first.
Yeah,
Very
did you not mute the videos?
Not yet. So we have Michaela, that's going to be one of the gladiators. It looks like Ferris is going to be one of the others. We have Mara and Renzo as the tacticians, and Moya in the jungle. Moya is always the jungler. I've seen so many Moyas. He is really one of the top picks in Dawngate competitive play right now. Part of the reason for that is simply because of how easy it is for him to make picks, right? His ultimate gives him not only is it mobile, but it also takes someone, brings them up into the air, suppresses them, and pulls them back to a point of your choosing within a certain circle. So that's really good for initiating, and it's really good for pick comps. And on top of that, he still has quite a bit of mobility and CC otherwise if he uses his W, then uses a bolt, that could potentially be an AoE stun. So he's got quite a bit of really good mechanic going towards him. And on top of that,
it'll get you. Another
it'll
fun fact
it'll
about
get to me.
Moya in this tournament: Moya was actually banned twice and picked 10 games. So obviously Moya is a very strong pick.
Yeah, and she has also got a bunch of sustain in the jungle as well, so she can farm out really well. So going towards the lanes, it looks like we have one view in each lane, which is actually one of the best setups we could have.
The only better thing would be if I had a Tri-Vision and we had a jungler.
Yes.
I don't think I'll ever do that. Actually, it looks like it's going to be farming Desecrator, so I was wrong about those lanes a little bit. Desecrator, Uzi Tutsi taking a lot of damage there. Mara, Faris, really strong pressure lane. Mara can get up in pretty much anybody's face, and Faris, once he hits 6, becomes exceedingly dangerous. Over in the other lane, we have... Did that click right?
Ashenville
something
Varian.
freaked out. Yeah. We do have
okay.
Ashenville Varian. So we've got Ashenville on Tactician. Tul's going to be using his long-range artillery to poke. And I don't... Was this within the Ashenville change to her E or no? Was that...
That
okay.
was the test patch.
That was the test patch, which came out on Tuesday. So this is before Ashenville's crazy E rework, which is insane.
Not really a rework. He just got, or she just got extra range on that E, but
it's crazy.
It's pretty cool. It really brings Ashabel a little bit more into the forefront and makes her even more pokey. And on top of that, as I don't know if you guys already knew this, but I believe that the E scales with how long away the target is when you hit them. So
for the slow,
that'll for the damage.
Oh, I thought it was just for the slow.
I think the farther away they are, the more damage they take from your E. But we're going to see Tulse basically poking out quite a bit, and Tactician Ashabel is not really going to have any trouble getting the Tactician bonus. And on top of that, you can see that he's got the little Warden Shield. That's a really good loadout page for any sort of poking Tactician, because right now you can see Tulse can run up, use the Q or an auto attack if he misses the Q, and even if he takes a little bit of return damage, like the stun right there, he's got a shield to mitigate some of it, and he doesn't take as much damage in these engagements that he could.
Yeah, no, this is a very strong... it's a very strong pushing lane, just because there's the zoning out of Ashabel, and then Varian pushes very, very hard because Celerity Shell will go through minions, because it has that penetration. It damages more than one target. So he's not scared of, stepping up and, picking a little bit of a fight, because most of the time he'll be able to get value off of the hitting through the minions and hitting the targets. We'll switch down to the other lane, where we see Beard taken a little bit of harass. He actually got kind of low from going a little too deep on Faris. And I'd say Zeri Desecrator is not a particularly common lane. Actually, up in the top lane, we have a little bit of a gank coming in. Basco goes in, does get a little bit of lockdown onto Tyrese, a little bit more damage, and they should pick up the kill. It's actually going to be Tulse who gets first blood. And I think they'll continue to zone out the Michaela. Meanwhile, down in the bot lane, Cutie winning for a gank and didn't get anything off of it.
Yeah, so a little bit more in favor of BOB in that sort of gank exchange. So we're going to see a little bit more poking out, and I think Tulsa is going to have a pretty good time, considering that there's only one person in lane, and he can walk up and use any poke he wants, and he doesn't have to worry about Renzo's stun. The thing about Renzo's stun is that it's targeted. You click on them, and they get stunned eventually. It has a very long projectile distance time to get there, but it looks like QT is in the bottom lane, goes in for a little bit of a gank. Zyles goes really low, and it doesn't look like anything is going to happen off of that. Just a little bit of low health across the board, but that was still a pretty good amount of pressure that he put on bot lane.
I think it might have been a little aggressive for Spinal to go under the tower with that gank. It made him, Mara is tanky, but Mara doesn't get that tanky just yet. And with so much close range CC from Desecrator, they kind of just walked away from it. I don't think they used a single spell. Actually, a stun coming in from Desecrator doesn't manage to land. Nice trees there by Spinal Dash to get himself away. Basco came in for the gank, and that's going to result in both teams being forced to back off. It looks like, yep, Cuskidi was backing off in that bush, and looks like, I think Basco, yeah, Basco's going to go back into his jungle, and is just going to go back and farm up.
Alright, what timestamp are you at right now?
I'm at 5:15 58 right now.
Alright, so I'm a few seconds behind. Let me just correct that real quick.
Meanwhile, up in the top lane, just the poke
Or I'm
war...
a few seconds ahead, sorry.
Oh, the poke war just gotta continue. There's good poke out of both of these teams because of the Q on Michaela. She gets a lot of really good poke down, plus her auto attacks just hurt. Really strong range AG, trading there with 50 Shades of Alpha and doing a good chunk of damage. I'd say that until they hit 6, Renzo's sort of at that level 4 point where he's got a couple points in. But meanwhile, down in the bot lane, huge gank on the Spinal Dash. They're going to bring him down. And it looks like, yep, Forest is going to be able to walk in there, pick up 1 kill, and get away. Cutie coming in from the side. He wanted to dash in with the... No, actually, he didn't have the Moyle ultimate, so he would have had to just go in normal, and it's going to be a 1-for-1 trade.
Going to be 1-for-1 trade there. And going back to a little bit of the dynamic in the top lane, one of the things about Michaela and Renzo is that they can synergize really well, because if Renzo lands a stun, that means Michaela can land 2 or even 3 shots of her gold standard, which is really powerful in terms of her poking, especially considering that it doesn't necessarily scale with level. The damage doesn't scale with level. The damage is a percentage of the damage you do on your basic attacks, and right there you see he landed a stun, and a monk was right in for it.
Nice ultimate in from the Moya. That's actually gonna force the blink. I think he used his blink. He definitely used his progress gate. I think he had to use both to get himself out of there. And the ultimate actually came out of Tulsa. Tulsa taking a lot of damage here. Does get stunned down. Has to blink away himself. So that's, I think, 2 spells down and both ultimates out of BOB. So they're going to be under a fair bit of pressure. Actually, Spinal Dash is sneaking up into this back bush. He's thinking about coming in for a gank. The wards are there. Yeah, no, there are wards down. They're going to see Spinal. And they should be able to easily back away from that.
Yeah, they definitely backed away from that, and I like the ward towards the center of the map. Really good spot to ward, because at this point there was a time period where people didn't ward that sort of center place as much as people used to. They started warding the lane, and they started warding the outer side of the jungle. But Beardish going in for a little bit of action in the bot lane.
Yeah, popped the ultimate onto Desecrator. Did a lot of damage to him, but they weren't able to lock him down. They used pretty much all of their CC early, and that bot lane doesn't have that much CC. Without Mara's ultimate, once she hits 6, she really just has that Vine. That's her only CC. And there's a little bit of a slow that comes out of Forest when he dashes on top of you, but that's really more of an assassination tactic, a single target, and especially not a target like Desecrator, who's probably building might and stacking on a lot of additional health along with his power.
So I believe this game was also before the Basco nerfs, so we might be able to see him, just go out big in the mid game where Bascos thrive and really make engagements happen all across the map. And here we go in the top lane already.
Two gank up in the top lane. They're actually going to bring him down. 50 Shades of Alpha picking up the kill onto Renzo before the Ashwell ultimate came down. And in the bot lane, we had Cutie thinking about a gank, wasn't able to start it just yet. He's still waiting in that bush, so both junglers ganking on the opposite sides of the map. There's going to be some pressure up in this top lane. We'll see how long Cutie decides to wait down here for this play. He does have the Moya, so that's really good dash potential. His ultimate's not up, though, so he's only going to have 1 jump in, and it's going to rely pretty much on Spinal to get off the stun with his ultimate.
And going back to the bot lane, let's talk about some of the dynamic down there, because I don't think we've really talked about that yet.
Too late. There's a bit of action. In comes the Basco, gets off the chains, is going to slow down on the Spinal. Spinal then pops his ultimate. Cutie comes in from the side. Instant blink away, and the ultimate out of Zeri onto the Desecrator. A little bit more damage. Nice knockup is going to stop Beardish from going in. They do finally have the Moya ultimate. It's going to pick up a target, but everyone is very, very low. They will get him with a drain going down. Cutie picking up that kill, and that's finally going to be a little bit revenge over to the side of Wins pair. They've been under a lot of pressure, especially down in this bottom lane where they've been trying to push and haven't been able to get anything just because of the defensive capabilities of Desecrator Zeri. They should be able to pressure onto this tower, and I don't think they'll make any more plays unless Zeri steps up, and that would be unwise. She should be able to save the tower, though.
Yeah, Desecrator Zeri lane does not have a lot of mobility, even though they do have a lot of survivability. Now, Zeri can use her ultimate on Desecrator and give him a little bit of extra tankiness there, but at the same time, they have nothing to stop, or they have nothing to combat Moya basically, oh my
lot
god,
of
in the top
damage.
lane, they're poking them down, almost picking up the kill right there. A little bit of a return ultimate to take back some of the damage, but as I was saying in the bot lane, they don't really have anything to sort of escape from Moya. If Moya were to use his ultimate, someone would get pulled back, and they don't necessarily have a way to jump back that distance unless their Blink or Tailwind or Blitz is up. So that's something that really works well in favor of Moya in that sort of lane dynamic for BOB.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure, or there was a lot of pressure in top lane that actually sent a lot of members up there. They had 3 people down in the bottom lane. One's Para trying to get one of these towers down. There's the Basco showing his face, so I don't think they'll be pressuring bottom tower again until they at least get an idea of where he is. Actually, no, Cuscutie is coming in for another play down in this bottom lane. Spinal looking to land a snare, and I think I mean, it's such an aggressive sort of dive. They require all of those ultimates up. It actually looks like they're going to rotate 5 men into behind this tower. There's actually a lot of pressure by a Monk and Renzo, Tyrese TV. They pushed up very, very hard, and now Spinal is sitting in this bush, and they know Spinal is there. They're gonna hit him with a little bit of damage, get some vision, but meanwhile, Desecrator, taking a lot of damage, is gonna go very, very low. Out comes the Zeri ultimate. It might save him. No, there's just too many targets there, and now Zeri gonna get stunned up by Spinal Dash. A lot of damage. I think they should be able to dive him. Moya gets off another stun. That's a 5-man rotation into the bottom lane, and in comes the Basco. Actually, Moya, he ults the Basco. That's gonna bring him out of the fight for a few more seconds. He's going to have to instantly pop his Blitz to get out of trouble. Meanwhile, up in the top lane, Tulsa and 50 Shades of Alpha are pushing down this tower. They should get it. I don't know. The Parasite's not level 2, so that won't be a transition. So it'll be a couple of kills, 2 kills for a tower.
2 kills for a tower. It's almost worth it for BOB, but not quite. But McScrag is trying to play under the tower. He's gonna get stunned up. Looks like he's getting dropped really low. There's too much damage down there. Beardish ends up picking up the kill on a killing spree at this point. Ferris is getting very, very strong.
Yeah, but Tyrese needs to be careful. He's baiting forward, trying to get a Monk into the middle of this play because they'd caught out Tulsa and 50 Shades of Alpha sort of in the jungle. But they didn't really have the numbers. A number of the members of Wen's Para were low. They had just made a pretty aggressive dive. So, made sense for them to back off for the moment. Renzo should be able to sustain himself back off a bit. And Spinal is just waiting in this bush. He really wants to make a play. He's actually going to go in for it. In comes the Progress Gate. That's going to move 50 Shades of Alpha out of the way. Spinal still waiting to pop his ultimate. 5 members are there, but they're taking a lot of damage from that Varion ultimate. They need to be very careful about how much further they engage. There are no members down for BOB, although a number of them weren't really in the position for this play. And now a 5-man stack up in the top lane. A little bit of damage coming out of Tulsa. That Ash Bell poke is starting to really, really hurt.
Yeah, they chased really far and they weren't quite able to get the kill for 2 reasons. First of all, they weren't able to chase any farther because Varion and Ashabel have really good kiting. Everything Ashabel does except for auto attacks slow. All of her spells slow, so if you keep chasing her, especially when you're all clumped up like that, you're going to get hit by that big AoE circle, you're going to get slowed, you're going to take a lot of damage. On top of that, 50 Shades of Alpha on Varion, he's got a lot of mechanic where he can run backwards and still do damage. He can throw his skill shot out, and he can also progress gate. On top of that, he has his tiny haste buff on his E, which does make him run a little bit faster, so that helps his escape mechanic as well. The second reason they couldn't continue chasing on that is because the rest of BOB were quickly rotating over. If they were chasing too far, they were all clumped up, they were in a really small corridor, and someone like Desecrator, he will go to town in a corridor. Desecrator CC, he'll land all of it, and that could very well be a fight turned around for BOB if they kept chasing, so really good decision there by Where's Para to back off of that.
Yeah, a couple of pings going down from one's Para to the Parasite. There's going to be a ward down from Forest, and looks like Spinal's going to be backing. Could be to pick up his Prosperity pretty much. Yep, there's a Prosperity. Actually, this is pre-Prosperity nerf, so this is when Prosperity was really valued. You still build Prosperity on a lot of Shapers in this most recent patch, but it's not as strong as it was during this tournament. So, Prosperity being, we'll probably see like 4 or 5 of those, one on pretty much every tank. Meanwhile, up in the top lane, Tyrese taking a lot of damage. Basco goes in, gets off the chain, gets off a little bit more damage. Ashabel is there, but again, Tulsa only has his prosperity. His poke isn't too strong yet. He's able to, if he's able to chain them up, it's going to start to stack on. But they weren't able to make anything happen there. Meanwhile, Spinal Dash coming in from the side is looking for a play. That tower is still up, though. So he needs to be careful about how far he's willing to engage.
It looks like both teams are sending a few members up top to rotate. Cutie is up here with Moya as well. It looks like we're gonna have a 4-on-5 engagement, and it looks like they're gonna go in.
Basco goes in with a phenomenal ultimate. Down comes the Astro Ball ult. They're right on top of Spinal, doing a lot of damage to him. That's gonna be the pick, and everybody is gonna back off. That was a lot of ultimates, though. That was actually 4 ultimates for 1 pick, so they're gonna have to be careful about how they engage their next few fights. They're gonna need to make sure that they're zoning properly, poking down their targets, and making use of the fact that their comp is very difficult to engage on. It actually looks like they're trying to zone out Tulse and maybe pick him off, but out comes the ultimate from Michaela. That might be dangerous. Tulse throwing out a little bit of slow. It's actually going to miss a Monk. 50 Shades of Alpha takes a huge crit to the face. And now they need to be careful. A Monk's already built himself up a pain. That's going to cut their healing into pretty much shreds. And that's going to be BOB actually looking to back off Cutie. Looks like he wants to go in for this.
Yeah, I don't know. The rest of his team is close behind, but Mara is not there. That's quite a bit of damage that they're lacking, and tankiness, and CC on top of that. And there's also Ferris down in the bot lane, so it would have been a 3v5 if he were to try to pick something. So even though he had, clear reign on the squishies, he pulls a squishy up, draws them back, maybe they kill him, maybe they don't. If they have blink up, then they definitely won't kill him, and then the rest of BOB is going to collapse. So they definitely did not want to keep continuing to try to pick that fight. So so far this game is looking fairly close. Wen's Para doing a very good job of keeping on the pressure the entire game, and throughout that entire top fight, even though they lost one Shaper, Ferris was pushing bottom lane the entire time, and you look at that, their inner binding is already destroyed. So right now they're pushed back to their base in the bottom lane, so top lane is really going to be where their focus shifts to, and we can already see that BOB anticipates that, and they have all of their defensive capabilities up here in the top lane.
A number of members sneaking around the backside of this. They're actually going to go for the Spirit Well, so they're going to try and pick, a fairly open fight. Faris has now joined the team. A little bit of damage on him, McScrag. He needs to be careful about how he engages this. That's actually going to be the Moya ultimate that's going to pick up a target. McScrag taking a lot of damage. Zeri is also very, very low. The ultimate from Faris hit a number of targets. Zeri ultimate is in there, but actually it's going to be a nice knock-up, and so much damage coming out of the Desecrator. Desecrator was just the key in that fight, and that's going to be another pick down, and none of the members from BOB have fallen. 50 Shades of Alpha looking to get something off. Nice blink knockup from the Desecrator. That Pain is just doing so much work for them. In comes McScrag, locks him down, and is he gonna go down? Actually, McScrag, McScrag dies. He dies to the drain, so that is gonna be a 4-for-1 in favor of BOB, and they may be looking to Parasite.
And it looks like they're going to clear out that wave, and yep, straight to Parasite. Very good call on
Actually,
their
was that
part.
an ace? Did they kill all 5? I think they did.
I
think they killed someone so early at the beginning.
Really quickly. But basically, one of the big things that turned that fight was that a little bit too much focus went on trying to kill McScrag, who was playing Basco, and I can't see the builds, but I'm pretty sure he went for a tanky sort of build, because he was able to soak up quite a bit of damage in that engagement, and the rest of the team just stayed at range, especially Tulse and 50 Shades of Alpha, who do a ton of damage at range. Cutie really wants the steal. He looks like he's not going to get it. He's going to get CC'd.
Yep, knock up onto Cutie. He needs to be careful about how much further he's willing to engage. Tulse is very, very low. Out comes the ultimate from Ashbel. It's going to slow down a number of targets. Meanwhile, a Monk is chasing down, does get Ootsie Tootsie, and actually blink over the wall. A nice Vine coming out of Spinal, and there's no tower there. They have free reign to chase this down. Cutie's going to go and gets the stun, double kill for a Monk, and that's going to be a little bit of revenge, even though they weren't able to steal away the para. I thought he had it there because there's just there wasn't a Vanquish up for the side of BOB.
Yeah, there wasn't a Vanquish up. It leads me to believe that there either wasn't a Vanquish up for Where's Para as well, where Moya didn't have it up, or the CC, he just got stun locked for so long that he couldn't really use it. Either way, good para secure by BOB, but they are still being pressured by Wen's Para. They know that, or Wen's Para know that they have quite a bit of clear. They know that they have a lot of tankiness and a lot of damage, so they're willing to pressure on this, especially since they got the pick on Zyles earlier. So they're fighting a 5v4 right now, and it looks like she's going to come back fairly soon. And by she, I mean Zeri. The actual player is male, but looks like they're going to quickly rotate to the top. and they're going to be able to take that binding as well. So good rotation on their part, and they finally managed to take down that top tower that they've been looking to pressure the entire game. So really good rotations on their part.
Yeah, despite what looked like a pretty big kill and Vim difference, Wensper has done a really good job of getting a lot of map objectives. They don't have the Parasite, but I think with the clear that team has, Ferris has decent clear, Michaela has decent clear, they should be able to stall out, if done properly, most of... No, Spinal, the acorns! Go collect your acorn. Good, Spinal. Okay, I thought Spinal was going to leave all of those acorns. They should be able to do a good job. Yeah, that was a good chunk of health. They should be able to clear out a lot of the waves if they're grouped properly, and this time it doesn't look like they are. It looks like Tulse and the rest of BOB is going to be able to push down a free tower that just no one was in position to defend.
Yeah, they saw the fact that Wensper were all up towards the spear while trying to take that back for their team, so they managed to take that bottom binding there, and it looks like they're going to pressure the Spirit well on top of that. So we talked about corridors before. Desecrator has a lot of fun in corridors, and especially Caster Crater. Utsi Tutsi is going for a Gladiator, a farming Desecrator, and he's going to end up doing a lot more damage than people think, especially on his ultimate. I think he's probably got, what is it, Decay is the item I'm thinking of?
Yeah, Decay is one of the early build items. Might into a fully stacked Might into a Decay. Gives you just so much additional dot capabilities, health, and damage.
Yeah, he's probably got that. Again, we can't see items, but that's going to allow him to do a lot more damage than people really expect. And it makes the zone control on his ultimate so much more effective than it is if you're just playing standard tank Desecrator. And I'm almost starting to think that that's sort of the way to go, you know? If you're playing straight up tank Desecrator, your ultimate, people just walk right through it and they don't really care because it's not damaging them. But if you go for sort of a power, if you go for sort of a magic on-hit build, I want to say...
Actually, he's gone Strife. Actually, huge team fight. I looked away for a minute. Tulse taking a lot of damage. Is going to lay out the ultimate, and an ultimate out of pretty much every target there. Oh, Mara doesn't go down. Actually, all members from both teams survive, but that is going to be a tower.
Drain.
Ooh, a little bit of damage down onto a monk. He's going to get CC'd. Nice knock up and the snare. Now Utsi Tutsi taking a lot of tower damage. I thought that they'd be able to bring this down, but there was enough health in favor of Wensper to defend this for just a little bit longer. Out comes the ultimate from Michaela. That's going to do a little bit of damage. A monk. He wanted, I think, 50 Shades of Alpha or Tulse, one of the two, to sort of take that damage, and it does look like Spinal Dash did go down in that fight. He was the only target to fall. He was very, very low. There was a lot of focus on him. Yeah, the clear isn't going to be good enough for Wensper to defend this, so that's going to be picking up another tower. And I was looking away to look at the items, which we do have listed, and he's built both Decay and Strife. So he double stacked Might.
Okay. That's really cool. That's going to give him a ton of tankiness, which you generally think of happening as Desecrator, but it's also going to give him both the flat power that Strife is going to give him, as well as the damage over time that Decay has. And that sort of Caster Crater, like I said before, it's kind of an on-hit caster build, if that makes sense. You know, his ultimate is going to start proccing a lot of these on-hit effects in terms of ability on-hit effects, and they're actually just going to start doing a ton of damage. So you don't necessarily need to build full power, you know, rage with all those really big caster mage items, but this sort of build also gives him some tankiness, and it makes sure that his damage over time is very, very strong. So he's got a lot of zone control, he's got a lot of wave clear, and on top of that, the rest of their team is doing very well in wave clear as well. Ashabel, Varion, and Zeri all have fairly good wave clear. They've got large AoE abilities that do a lot of damage, so they're going to be able to siege towers fairly easily. And on top of that, 3 members of their team are ranged, and that's really just in line with what we usually see from BOB. They really like playing the comps where they can siege, where they have all that wave clear. Amok forced to walk back to dodge the Ashabel Q, but oh, looks like the blink is going to keep her safe. They're not really going to be able to pick up the kill there, but good collapse on BOB. They're going to be able to start sieging this tower now.
Yeah, there are a number of members from Wensper rotating over, and Amok is going to stay in. Meanwhile, Spinal walks right into a World of Hurt. That's actually going to be the Ashabel ultimate. He's able to walk out of that, surprisingly. Did not pop his ultimate. So they do still have the Reyna ult for the next fight. Actually, no, Reyna ult is down. I thought it was up. I couldn't tell because
Mara.
Or Mara, not Reyna. Mara. I couldn't tell, I guess, because of just some of the particle effects. It looked like she hadn't used it yet, but that's going to be BOB taking away another Spirit Well. Monk takes a shot to the face. Tulsa throws an Ash Bell Q into the bush. They had a Warden, and they're going to continue to sort of move forward with this stranglehold style of play, just slowly taking everything away from them.
Yeah, whereas Para has to watch out. They don't have their entire team grouped up here for Para yet, but they definitely know that it's going to be a fairly important objective soon, so they want to make sure that they have control over it. They want to make sure they have the warding control over it as well, but no team necessarily wants to go for it yet, because we always talk about how never mind, they are going for it, and it looks like BOB is going to make a full rotation right towards Para. It looks like they are going to be getting there right when Para gets to about half health, so they are going to be able to contest this.
Yep, a lot of damage on the Parasite. Basco is looking for his dive. Basco's going to walk in. He actually smites it away. He is going to get the Vanquish steal off, and it's going to be the ultimate onto Basco. Adamoy. Moy is going to have to blink and just use everything he can to get out of trouble. Renzo is very, very low. A nice slow out of a Monk with that stun, but in comes the Basco ultimate. This is going to be dangerous. Spinal has to keep on dashing. Forest jumping out of the way. High mobility Shapers out of Wen's Para is going to keep them from losing any of their team. Ken Beardish blinks away every escapability used out of Forest. That's going to be the instant call to turn right onto this tower. There is no one there to contest. They will soak up the damage, take a little bit of hurt. It's actually Tulsa. Tulsa's tanking that. That might have been a little bit risky, but all the members from Wen's Para were very, very low. They couldn't come over and contest, and that's going to be the steal and a tower in favor of BOB.
Very, very nice smite steal over there by McScrag. Basco, I think being Basco helped him out with that a little bit, because Basco's got quite a bit of base damages that are also sort of instant hit. When I say something like that, it's like Zeri's Silence. Something that just happens. There's no cast time, there's no projectile time. It just straight up does damage. And that can help you secure a para, because if you time it right, it's sort of like the, if you've ever played League of Legends, the Lee Sin Resonating Strike Smite combo. When you deal a large chunk of damage and then smite at the same time, you can actually get your Vanquish or Smite off earlier than the other team will, because they don't have that extra boost of damage. It's a good way to secure it, and I think McScrag did that with the amount of damage that Basco's kit naturally has, so that's a very good play on their side to steal that, and you know, that's going to start turning things around for BOB. They're going to start being the ones who are going to put more and more pressure onto Wen's Para, especially with the Striders pushing down the lanes. And at this level of play, you're really going to start seeing the power differential that Para gives you in full effect. And they're going to try to catch out Ferris. I don't know if they're going to be able to. He's going to run towards BOB's base, so eventually I think they might catch him.
This is also Ferris, let's be honest. He's actually, no, they are going to catch him, but he's going to go right into 50 Shades of Alpha. 50 Shades of Alpha. Oh, the Zeri ult. It's not going to be enough out of 50 Shades of Alpha to pick up that kill. And that is going to be McScrag picking a Beardish. And, damn.
Tulse swapped away from it right as it happened, right as the kill happened.
But there is a little bit of a sneaky pusher. Tulse throwing out the ultimate onto Cuskitty, who had gone under tower to try and bring down this tower. They do get it. Among is going to be able to walk away from that. So a death for a tower that's not terrible. They're continuing to get some of their sneaky pressure. Meanwhile, in the middle of the map, we had Spinal Dash getting chased down by McScrag. He really, really wanted to catch him, and it looks like a Monk is going to back. Monk and Renzo are very, very out of position. They're going to back very, very far away from their team over in the bottom half of the map, and we should be seeing both teams reset for the next push that'll come out of BOB.
So that tower for one kill actually worked really well in Where's Para's advantage, because first of all, very good shot calling on their part to take the tower, and second, that is a base tower. So there are absolutely no more bindings that are up in the bottom lane for BOB. That's pretty big. Getting into the base is definitely one of the hardest parts about sieging in Dawngate. Once you get to the base, it's really hard to do anything because you can rotate between bases, but the rotation distance is so short that both teams can really be there. Now, they have Striders here, and that's going to make sieging this tower much, much easier. The Strider's going to be able to tank up so much damage, and it's a lot harder to wave clear them. Spinal goes in.
Spinal, he went in with the ultimate. He used pretty much everything he had, and it didn't get him anywhere. A Monk taking a lot of damage has to dash away, and that's going to be really bad, because that was a lot of Mara's, her really strong CC, plus her initiation for, I think, just a blitz out of McScrag.
They did not get much. So they're going to continue sieging down on this tower. They might be able to take it, but Cutie goes in, picks someone up.
Yep, he's gonna get 50 Shades of Alpha, who instantly blinks out. These aren't really the targets they want. They really need to grab Ashabel, who's not gonna be able to get away with the exception of Tulsa's blink, but every time they're picking a target, it's just not going well. Like, he was able to progress gate out. That was an ultimate for, you know, maybe a 15-second cooldown.
Yeah, so 2 ultimates down on the side of Where's Para. They are not looking too good in terms of the siege. There goes the last Strider wave. I say it's the last because I think they're going to be able to take this tower now. They're really focusing on it. They're taking a lot of damage as well, and it looks like they're just barely going to be able to take it. And it looks like Where's Para is going to have to back off, as well as BOB. Neither team really knows who will be the victor of the fight.
Wants it, though. He's going to go right onto Tulsa, instantly knocked away. Actually, there's Mishrags' Blitz. The ultimate out of Ashabel is going to do a good chunk of damage. Now they've jumped on top of Tyrese. Spinal is going to go down, and I think a little bit more damage. Tulsa did fall there, so it's going to be, it wasn't Spinal, it was Tulsa who fell along with Renzo. That's a 1-for-1, but they got the tower, and they had a good chance to initiate when Uzi Tutsi had stepped up, and they didn't take it.
Yeah, and it looks like Para's respawn now as well, so both teams are going to start being a little bit more passive. Neither one really wants to get caught out. Oh, as I say that, Beardish, he's able to get away. Ferris, very good escape mechanic on that Shaper, so he's going to be able to survive that, but it looks... Nope, BOB's not going to pressure the Spirit Well, they're just going to go get the one on their side of the map, and... Where's Para might be chasing this one out a little bit. They see the low health. They know it's a 4v3. They might be able to do something about this. They are on the hunt, but it looks like they're just going to back off and clear waves. Cutie, however, just keeps going. He definitely wants blood.
Yeah, he's gone very, very, very... is Moya Ultimate back up? Moya Ultimate isn't back up.
Is that a blink?
That might have been a blink dash.
I think it was a blink dash, yeah.
That was very, very aggressive considering the fact that he didn't have that much follow-up. He would have had to, pretty much try and pick up that kill all on his own. A Monk was there, but not really in a position to set up that kind of play. Tulsa throws out his ultimate to get the waves pushing into Wen's Paris base. So they're going to have to be careful because that...
You know what I think that was?
What?
I think that was them trying to push out, trying to lay on pressure, trying to get BOB to back off at least towards their tower. They weren't trying to force a fight, but they wanted to make sure that they got enough map control to safely ward Para. Because as soon as they did that, they rotated up for Para. I thought they might have... They were possibly going to start it, but they didn't start it. Instead, they just got a ward on it. So they're going to be able to get a ward on it. I don't know if it was necessarily worth the blink. I think they could have done without. And it looks like they're going for it now.
Yeah, they do have 5 members there. They should actually be able to take this without BOB being able to get there in time. They have the Mortal Strike from Amongst early Pain build, so that's going to be a free Parasite. Good timing by the side of Wen's Pair to pick that up and get it while they saw BOB off on other portions of the map.
Yeah, and that might be another byproduct of that little bit of pressure that was added on when they went really aggressive. So this is a very back and forth game. It's very interesting, much more interesting to see than most of the other games we've casted, I have to say. But Parasite has gone to both sides. Both teams only have one lane which isn't broken into their base. So this is going to be interesting. It all starts coming down to these team fights is basically what happens. There's not much you can do in terms of individual play anymore. Most of it is your team fighting and how you work with your team. Your individual play is going to come from your mechanics, your positioning, your skill shots, but it's not going to be, say, one person pushing down a lane and the others pushing down the other lane. That's just not going to happen. The rotates are too easy and you can get picked off really easily that way. So we're going to want to see where these team fights happen. Without Para up as an objective, team fights become really weird. It becomes more so about sieging, and I think in this point, BOB starts winning that battle because BOB simply just has so much more wave clear and they can wave clear really well under tower. It just depends on what Where's Para can do with the Striders. The Striders are really what's going to make the difference as to whether or not When's Para can actually break into the base and take down extra bindings via sieging.
Yeah, so huge Strider waves here, but the other thing is there's just so much clear on BOB's side. Like, their clear is actually kind of crazy. That entire Strider wave just disappeared. So I think that When's Para is going to need like a hard engagement under tower. I don't think they're going to be able to do standard pushing. They're going to have to push while someone's off clearing. And they're going to have to, like, right now is a good chance because Varian, he's on his way over, and that is when they're going to make their dive. On the McScrags they go. A lot of damage down onto him. Nice stuns out of Spinal Dash, but he's getting very, very low. Tulsa is going to stasis through the ultimate out of Ferris, and Ferris is actually really, really low. That dive may not have been worth it. All three members, or three of those members are going to make it out, but Tyrese is getting chased down by the team. That is just so much movement speed, and there's the chain. It's actually McScrag who picks up the kill. So what should have been a pretty simple dive play, they couldn't do it because the wave clear was so strong out of BOB.
Yeah, and I think one of the better choices for Wen's para would to be to start forcing the bottom lane, because there is no binding there. It would be pushing into the base, and they would run the risk of the Guardian. But at the same time, at range, the Guardian can only use its abilities, and the abilities only happen every now and then, and if they're lucky, they're not going to get lasered, or the line of fire, which is still a very good zoning technique, or zoning ability, rather. So I think that would have fared a little bit better than fighting under a binding, where they would have a constant source of damage that is always guaranteed to hit them. And it would have been a little bit easier to pressure. Now, they would definitely have to be careful about their positioning, because when you're fighting inside the base, the Guardian can really, really screw up a team with the with Laser Core or the Line of Fire. I don't know what the community has decided to dub that ability yet, but it's really, really much more positioning reliant if you try to fight in the base than under a tower. If you're trying to fight under a tower, you just want to try to burst down people as fast as possible and get the right initiations down.
Yeah, but other than Forest, Wen's para doesn't really have that much burst. It's like, yeah, McKellar can kind of burst, but they kind of want to fight with that. Spinal can't burst, Renzo can't burst. They kind of have 3 bruisers, but 2 of them are tankier than they are for doing damage. So they really have a heavy reliance damage on Moya, who's overtime, McKellar, who's overtime, and then Forest, who bursts. So I don't know how well they're going to be able to tower dive BOB under the circumstances.
Yeah, it's going to be a very difficult game for them to win. Even though they took the last para, their pushing just isn't where it should be. If you compare their wave clear, their sieging potential to BOB, as you said before, BOB has so much wave clear, they can take things down really quickly, and at this point, 50 Shades is getting to the point where he can burst down Striders really, really quickly too. You know, he's going to shoot a Q, auto-attack twice, and then use another ability and auto-attack twice, and then the Strider's dead. So it's really interesting, and I'm trying to think of what exactly Wen's para can do to win this game, because at the moment it just sort of seems like they've gotten out-comped, you know? If they didn't win the game earlier than this late game, then I don't really see how they can push into the team. We're going to have to see really good initiations, and I think at this point they're just going to have to go for picks, right? They're going to have to try to rotate around the map, they're going to try to bait objectives. They need to do something where they can catch people off guard, where they don't have to siege. Sieging is something that their team comp just doesn't lend well to. Now Para's up again, so we might see a fight here. This might be what they need.
Yep, McStride taking a lot of damage. The ultimate out of Varian is going to hit right into Tyrese, and they're going to back away. They've done a lot of good damage to that to the jungler of BOB, and they're not ready to pick the fight just yet. Tulsa eating the McKellar ultimate to the face. In comes the dash and the stun out of McStrag. That's a lot of damage down. They are going to pick up one target. It was Cutie went right onto this area. She's very, very low. McStrag actually misses his ultimate. A lot of damage onto the key targets. They need to get on the 50 Shades of Alpha. Spinal gets off the stun, but it may not be enough. Around the backside of Munkos, but he gets instantly bursted down by 50 Shades of Alpha. And just the ultimate out of Renzo didn't do anything. It didn't manage to knock up enough targets, and it's just Basco being a Basco and just not dying, chasing down onto Spinal Dash. They are going to let him go, and they're going to go right onto Parasite, and Faris is actually off split pushing instead of dashing in and out for assassinations here. He doesn't want to go in. I think he's just too scared of the CC.
I would actually even say the MVP of that fight was Tulse. What he did at the very beginning of the fight, before everything broke out, he aggroed Para. He knew that his team was the one who was outside of the Parasite Cove. They were the ones hugging the wall. They were near that little corridor that leads to their lane. While Wen's Para, they were positioned, they had to run through Para in order to get to BOB. So by aggroing Para, Tulsa basically made it so that Para was always a factor in that team fight. Para was always doing damage to someone, and most of the time it was when's Para. When Parasite aggroes to the closest target, and are you
I'm laughing at the para wins,
wordplay?
para wins,
Para wins, yeah. But it was. The Parasite was attacking Wen's Para the entire time because it aggroes the closest person to it. The closest person starts taking Para, and at that point, everyone in Where's Para were the ones who were closer to Parasite. They were positioned closer to it. And the only time where it stopped attacking Where's Para was when it used the big fire AoE blue flame thing. And that started hitting 50 Shades of Alpha, which was a little bit good in terms of RNG for Where's Para, but at the same time, the fact that it got aggroed so early by Tulsa really added so much extra damage to that fight and really helped BOB win the fight. So I'm going to have to give MVP of that specific fight to Tulsa.
Yeah, good play. Good play on his part. I'm surprised that Forrest didn't stick around. There were a couple of really low health targets that he might have been able to just like pick up. But I guess, you know, they weren't confident in the play, and now pushing with a huge wave of Striders and just sort of leading the charge with their minions. You've got BOB trying to break into the base. They're going to go right towards the multi-shotty laser core. We need names for all of these cores. We need names for all these cores. Right onto Tulsa they go. They're actually going to pick him up. That might not have been the target. He's actually going to go very, very low. The ultimate onto Tulsa is going to keep him alive. Meanwhile, on the other side of the fight, Forrest trying to pick up a target. Spinal being zoned out. There's so much damage out of 50 Shades of Alpha, who hasn't been touched at all during that fight, and that is 2 cores down. The minions have taken down the top core, and now it's only 2 cores left, and nobody has died yet. All the members from One Spare have healed. Instant cleanse out of that play. Nice knock up onto the Forest and the Mara. God, so many names. Forest. Either way, BOB has managed to break into the base, take 3 out of 2 cores, and they should be able to group up and just sort of let the minions push on into the other side.
The minions are going to start pushing the top lining, especially with that para that they were able to get off of the last team fight. And they're going to be able to siege this really well. As we keep saying, BOB has a better comp in terms of their sieging. Beard is trying to go in for it. Oh, he takes a lot of damage. He's going to be out of commission until he goes back to the Locust. Tulsa taking a lot of damage as well. He's forced to stasis out of it. So a lot of poke from both sides. No one quite going down yet, but I think this sort of... BOB is still in a good position because Tulsa can stay way back, he can still clear waves, he can still poke, and the rest of the BOB's team is basically full health.
Out comes the Renzo ultimate. They're going to need to be careful how much they engage. Because the tower still up, actually, McScrag going to bring that down. Spinal Dash taking a lot of damage, is zoned out of the fight. On to Beardish they go. 50 Shades of Alpha just destroying everybody. Meanwhile, on the other side of the fight, McScrag's tanking 3. Is going to get the ultimate out of these areas. It's going to keep him alive long enough for Cuss-Cutie to kill him. And now Tulsa needs to be careful dueling it out with Cuss-Cutie. Cuss-Cutie's actually going to pick up that kill. And that was a much better fight from Wen's Para. They're going to need to be careful about how they engage since there's still the bubble core up and Spinal is at full health. Slow down onto 50 Shades of Alpha. Beardish is there. Dash in from the forest. He isn't able to do anything. Getting destroyed by 50 Shades of Alpha. So much damage out of that Varion. And that is going to be the disengage. So a 2-for-1, but they did get the tower.
Yeah, Varion's late game damage is pretty huge. And one thing I think Wen's Para should actually consider doing in this game, obviously it already happened, so there's that, but I think one thing that they should consider is using Moya's ultimate less as an initiation and more as a something to buy time for the rest of the team to pick up a kill. Say if Moya picks up Desecrator, even though that's not your first target, Desecrator's a really huge source of CC for BOB, so if they pick up Desecrator with Moya's ultimate, he's suppressed for the next 2 or 3 seconds, that might buy the rest of Wen's Para enough time to burst someone down, say 50 Shades of Alpha. But the other thing is that, who do you do that to? You can do it to Desecrator because Desecrator has the CC. You can do it to Zeri because Zeri's got her ultimate that will definitely keep 50 Shades of Alpha alive through a lot of attempts to burst him. And then you also have Basco, who just kind of runs into the back line and is Basco. That's basically what he does. Runs into the back line and just
does Basco things.
Goes ham. Does Basco things. Almost chop, but with different style axes. But yeah, it's really interesting. Wen's Para is in a really weird position, and BOB's just rotating really well. They're not allowing themselves to really be caught out on rotations, which is really good on their part. So we're going to have to see what this para fight goes to. This is definitely going to be what I think the last play of the game. Whoever wins this para fight is basically going to be winning the game, so long as, say, one person doesn't get a steal on Parasite and both teams instantly disengage and all 5 members of both teams are still alive. But if a team fight breaks out, this could be the end. He's going to go over the wall so he doesn't quite get caught out there, but they're going to keep trying to engage Para. Nothing quite happening yet. They're going to have to go in now if there's any time to go in.
Out comes the Renzo ultimate, so there is going to be no steal. Cuscuity is onto the Desecrator, picks him up, but the rest of his team is a little too split. Instant stasis out of the Desecrator, and there's just too many members in the middle of this fight. It's very, very close. Tyrese is going to go down. Fars tries to go and gets destroyed by 50 Shades of Alpha. They don't land the ultimate down onto a Monk, but I don't think it matters. It's 3 members down. The Parasite is going to go over to the side of BOB, and they should be able to easily push down and end the game off this play.
Yeah, 50 Shades of Alpha is, at this point, getting to the point where Varian is way too strong. He uses an ability and the next 2 auto attacks crit, they do bonus damage, and they apply Ruin, they do everything basically. He's gotten so many items that one auto attack can take out, a third of someone's health. And at this point, unless you have the CC to completely lock him down, you're not really going to go anywhere, and it's really hard to get to him as well when you have to run through the front line of Utsi Tutsi and Mixcrag, and on top of that, we have the survivability. As we said, Utsi Tutsi can have a lot of CC, so anyone who wants to dive onto Varian gets killed, and you also have the CC, or sorry, not the CC, but the Zeri ultimate that can keep him alive. So really good game there by Wen's Para. They're going to take game 1 in the best of 3 series. So we're going to start going into picks and bans for game 2, and I think at this point, do we want to see a Varian ban? I feel like Varian's late game is just extremely strong, and it's also something that just complements BOB's late game sort of siege comp really well. Every time we've seen BOB, they've had a team that is really, really good at sieging, and it's part of the reason why they keep winning these games. They can start pushing on people really easily, but they can't be pushed on very well.
Yeah, I think we've seen 50 Shades of Alpha play that a lot. I know he's played it a fair bit in solo queue. I don't know what the stat on that is. I mean, let me take a quick look and see. 50 Shades of Alpha. In the tournament, over the course of the tournament, he played Kensu once, he played Nisa twice, he played Varian 3 times. Yeah, so they played 6 games.
And those are all pretty good seizures.
Yeah, no, they played 6 games in total, so 50 Shades of Alpha playing, again, very good seizures, mostly Varian in this tournament. On the other side, you've got... skim through these stats. When's Para?
Oh, and if you guys have any questions before, while we wait for the pick and ban phase to start, you guys can go ahead and ask them in chat. We'll try to answer them to the best of our abilities, as well as if you guys have any feedback, we'd love to hear it, and anything we can do to improve your experience, to improve the casting, and to improve the Dawngate community in general.
That was a long list of, stuff. What was I looking at? A Monk. So during the tournament, he played Gladiator Mara, which was interesting. He played Michaela 4 times and Varian twice. So we see that he does play Varian, but Michaela seems to be his main pick. And the first ban has come out, and it is Dibs.
Dibs again, very understandable. We keep talking about Dibs. We had one episode of At What Cost where the main thing we talked about was the fact that Dibs is very, very strong, and he can rotate really well. He can add global pressure to the map and still be a part of team fights, which is really, really huge. So, will it continue to be synced if we just let it go like this?
Yeah.
Are we gonna have to resync?
Yeah, no,
okay, cool.
These are pretty much synced. There may be a slight variance, and we'll double check that when we get in the game, but these should be pretty much set.
Alright, I was just worried because I see bans on
Tulsa's
where's
not,
Para, and then
Tulsa's not synced.
So... Alright, do you want to wait till game and sort that out then?
Yeah, I think that's what I had planned. So, on the subject of Dibs, who has been banned, Dibs was actually banned 11 times and picked 3 others, and I think that's every single game he was either banned or picked during this tournament. And he came out of it with a 67% win ratio, so not bad.
Yeah, 67% is actually pretty big. That means you win twice as many games as you lose. If you do the math on that, it's correct. Believe me. I guarantee it.
Amaranth, our other ban, was banned 5 times, picked 6. She walked out again with a 67% win ratio, so another fairly good shaper. And then looking at Renzo, one of the stronger tacticians, especially in pick compositions, and really, I'd say in any composition. He's got AoE and pick potential. Renzo was banned twice, picked 7, and actually has a pretty crappy win rate. He's got a 29% win rate, so...
Really?
Renzo, not so great right now?
I don't know. Part of it might just be...
Who was picking him, who was playing him?
That might be as well, but past laning, his impact is a little bit lessened. Like, right, he can use his ultimate, he can use his stun, but the stun only affects one target, and it's not by all means a very long stun either, so perhaps late game his impact sort of falls off, even though he is quite a powerful laner. Laning phase, Renzo is destroy, you know? If you win early game, you're going to snowball into mid game with Renzo, but I feel like late game, and we saw in the last match, late games didn't really do too well in terms of the Renzo. You know, his ultimates landed on 4 or 5 people, and then after that, you know, he got 1 or 2 stuns off, but the rest of it just wasn't too high impact, so I think that might be it. Fendrillon? Yes,
Names.
Fendrillon.
Names are hard.
Fendrillon. I really hope it's Fendrillon, because I don't like getting people's names wrong, but oftentimes people's names are hard to pronounce, so I'm very sorry if I got it wrong, but yes, thank you. We love casting. We're both League of Legends casters. We've been casting League of Legends for 2 years
Since
each.
about season 2-ish for both of us.
Yeah, early season 2.
Yeah, I was
for
early.
both
I
of
was
us.
early season 1, but that was before anybody let me cast anything real. I was sitting at my computer trying to cast stuff, like putting up VODs and trying to get noticed.
Yeah, and we thought it would be cool. We came up with this cool idea for to let people watch competitive Dawngate with some high quality casting before a lot of the spectator mode stuff comes out. So
Can't wait.
thank you for that. Also, shout outs to good old Malk, who actually compiled that
Oh my
document
god, the
we
Malk.
were using. You are a god.
Malk is
sir.
god.
Good old Malk.
Malk is god, Malk is life.
He made this document and posted it on Reddit with all of the picks, all of the bans, the percentages, the builds, the final builds for everyone. He's got the VODs
All
listed
statistics
on there.
brought to you by good old Malk.
Yes, very, very good old
So
Malk.
let's get back to some of these picks and bans. Mina has made it through bans. That is significant.
It's scary.
Almost nobody ever gets Mina because she is so scary. Because she works in so many lane compositions. She works with assassins. She works with AD carries.
80 carries.
She can run in
mages.
on any there's almost no lane that's really bad, like hardcore bad with Mina. Mina's pretty much useful with everyone. Kagen as a follow-up, that's probably going to be the jungler out of, I think this is Wenspera. Yeah, Wenspera is on Mortal side, and Varion. So they were able to get the Varion this time, so we'll be seeing a Monk play Varion. On the other side, we have Basco. So still McScribe still playing some Basco. Again, this is pre-nerf Basco, so it makes a little bit more sense. And that might be Tulse on King of Masks. We've seen that before. Or no, yeah, that's B.O.B. It might be Tulse on King of Masks. He plays a very strong tactician, King of Masks, maxes eggs every time. I remember learning that on his stream.
I'm guessing it's because of the AoE.
It's because of the AoE and because it does more clear damage, and there's a lot of value on clear damage as a tactician, especially if your carry is out of lane. If you can't keep the wave if you can't either make use of the farm or keep it out of, or stall out the wave, you run into 1 positions where you're losing farm, 2 positions where you're getting dived hard.
That makes sense.
So I think that was the reasoning behind it. It also allows him to get more farm, and that's very, very useful.
And I also like the fact
has my
that...
music been playing in the background the whole time?
I don't know. I haven't been listening to the stream.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, I can also see that AoE fear is very, very strong. Any AoE CC is incredibly strong, and I think that might be part of where
My music's been playing the whole time.
Why he maxes the eggs, because his eggs allow him an AoE fear. And Dice says, "Yep, the music's been playing the entire time." So good job on that.
Awesome
one.
drum and bass to dubstep.
I hope it didn't drown out our voices.
No, it's so quiet. I forgot it was there. I can only
That's
hear
good.
it now that we're out of game and I'm thinking about it. So next two picks coming out of BOB's side, they got Cerulean, another common ban. I'm actually going to check the stat on Cerulean while you talk about Cerulean's value as well as Kensu's value.
Yeah, Cerulean, he is a very, very heavy diver, and on top of that, he has one of the few repositions in the game. You know, a lot of people have CC, but what his flip does is basically flip them, basically. It can outposition someone, it can misposition someone. That's part of the reason why Moya is so strong, because his ultimate mispositions someone, or repositions, or depositions. Some sort of prefix plus
Positioning.
positions. Yeah, and it basically screws up people's positioning, which can be extremely strong. And on top of that, he's very tanky. He can run into a backline if he's got blitz, and just, you know, run in, armor magic resist, slow people, do a lot of damage, ult. He's got a lot of survivability, he's got a lot of CC. It's a very good all-around pick. The only problem is that unless you're jungling him, his early game is a little bit weak. You know, there's not much he can actually do to proc the tactician bonus, so he's going to have a very tanky sort of loadout. I can definitely see Warden being in part of the loadout, and we'll see how he plays that out as well, because Cerulean's a pretty strong pick, but he does have to get to the point where he is strong. If he gets shut down, then, you know, Cerulean just kind of runs in and dies, rather than runs in and ult, flip, snare. He doesn't have a snare, but spin.
He might as
and
well.
all of that stuff going on. Hey, if he builds duress, he'll have a snare.
Well, I mean, the thing about his flip is there's actually a 0.5 second snare on the flip. Once the flip makes connection, you're stuck there until he flips you.
That's true.
So it's like
So I wasn't wrong with the snare.
Mini snare. So
See?
Cerulean was
There you
actually
go.
banned 3 times.
I
picked
never say
6.
anything that's wrong, right?
Cerulean was banned 3 times, picked 6, had a 33% win ratio. I'm just looking at these stats, and the Mina stat is the most terrifying. Mina was banned 13 times and only picked once. This is the only game that Mina made it through, so this is pretty impressive. Also, welcome to the Bruiser Gate. We've got a Koggin and a Petrus on the side of Wenspera.
Okay, so...
And a Desecrator.
And a Desecrator, okay. Castrocrator for sure.
Definitely.
Definitely a Castrocrator. But this means that either Koggin or Petrus, one of those two is going to be Tactician. Something leads me to believe it's going to be Koggin, simply because Koggin has a little bit more in terms of his pre-6 mechanic to help out his laner, whereas Petrus is all in. You know, if Petrus helps his laner, it's because he jumped in, he spun a lot, and he punched people. And that's basically how he helps his laning partner. On the other hand, Koggin has a slow, it's a large AoE slows you for quite a bit, and he's also got a stun on that as well. Now granted, Petrus has a stun, but Petrus has to get a lot farther in. He has to go a lot more all in than Koggin has to in order to get his stun off. So that leads me to believe that it's probably going to be Koggin Tactician, but at the same time they might throw something completely weird at us and make it a Gladiator Koggin with a Tactician Desecrator. That would be really weird, and I don't think it's going to happen, but it's possible. We've seen weirder things in Dawngate. And I think this black screen is how you synced it up so that both games start at the same time, right? Maybe?
I hope so. Oh, wait.
We'll just wait
This
until
says
the Wenspera.
MP4, so this is the MP4 of Wenspera, which... Alright, hold for 1 second, I have to double check something.
Alright, we're gonna be holding then.
We're gonna hold momentary...
Hello everyone, we're holding, how are you?
Yeah, we're holding. We're holding over on that screen. We're gonna hold on the Outlook cost screen for like 2 seconds. Because I wanna make sure, because again guys, these are all VODs, so when I do this, I have to pull the VODs from Twitch, convert them out of an FLV, edit them together, and then render those edits. And it has to not die. And that's the hardest part about this entire thing, is,
making sure it doesn't die.
yeah, is making sure that it doesn't die. And I know that seems odd, but when you're converting this much video, sometimes you run into a few snafus.
Alright, so we're just gonna let him do that thing. Again, this is a time where you can chime in chat if you want to say anything.
Tulse.
Also, hey Dice, how's it going?
Resyncing. Tulse resyncing.
You were here a while ago, I know, but haven't had a chance to say hi. I try not to respond to chat while casting. It's more professional that way and whatnot.
Okay, so Tulse is resynced, and then I'm about to resync When's Para.
I'm doing a little dance. It's very half-assed, and
okay,
my
so,
eyes
yeah,
are half closed as well,
Here's
so
where
I'm kind of
we
tired.
run into funness. So When's Para's video will not run in VLC because of the formatting, because it's this weird not. All right, this will take me a second, but I can fix it.
If I fast forward, Where's Para's video starts working.
Yeah, Where's Para's video does work. It's just this nonsense.
Well, now I see a green strip.
Yeah, that'll
and a
happen.
pink strip.
Again, this is because this
like I'm
conversion
tripping.
system is so whacked out because they're FLVs. It changes how they're encoded.
And now I'm seeing the game, but the entire screen has a shade of pink to it. So Moya's pink now. Oh, 50 Shades of Alpha's health bar is red.
Alright. Sorry for the technical difficulties, folks. We'll be following Tulse for a good portion of this match. I'm just trying to figure out...
Oh man. He's got the video in the top right of the screen too. How do we sync?
Exactly.
How do we sync this?
I have a way.
Ron!
There is a
Ron!
way. There is a way. And I'm working
save
on
us.
it right now. I'm finding the timestamp. So this is how jank this has to be, folks. I'm about to find the exact moment where Petrus is standing where he is on a spirit well. I'm actually going to show you guys what this looks like. So that is where Petrus is. And I'm simultaneously setting the timestamp so that I can time when Tulsa is where he is and where Petrus is where he is. And I'm going to find that timestamp. Okay, so that timestamp is at 16:34. So I'm going to switch back over to Tulsa at the beginning of this video.
16:34, you said?
Yes, 16:34. We will regain vision of When's Para of BOB or When's Para. All right, so set your BOB video to 16 seconds in game, and we'll start.
Okay.
All right, we're good. Cuz Spinal. Are you set?
So my BOB video also cuts out, which is awesome.
All right. Can you
So
color cast off the volume?
yes, I can color cast off the stream, but you're going to have to interrupt me whenever there's action happening. Just
Alright,
don't even worry
this
about
is
it.
gonna-
Don't say sorry. Just like straight up interrupt me.
All right, this is going to be a challenge. Again, we apologize,
Oh,
folks. This
God.
is spectator mode, please, but we will be getting back into game right now at starting about 16 seconds into the match where we're actually on BOBs, visuals, and Azaraki is going to be casting from the past.
It's okay. I've casted an NESL thing off of a stream, but no, it was TDTV. It was a TDTV weekly. I was casting it off of stream, and it sort of worked, I guess.
All right, well, there's
But
not...
it is the
20
only way
seconds.
I was able to keep up those 32 straight weeks of casting.
This is true. Azaraki is a trooper.
Worth.
So we're only going to have one view, but there's actually some pretty good ward coverage
Hashtag
here.
worth.
50 Shades of Alpha a little bit further away from his team. The entire team of BOB actually invaded around this back end, and we're going to see whether or not we get this. Oh, I think they know. They're actually going to get the slow down to Cuscutie. Utsituti goes over the wall, gets a huge stun off, and that's actually going to be a lockdown from the Desecrator. A little bit more damage down onto a Monk, and they should be able to pick up the kill. He's going to blink away, and that's 3 members. 50 Shades of Alpha, he wants this. He has down the slow, and that is going to be first blood. Actually picked up by Utsituti. Lower down, they were able to get the Kogan, and they got the second kill onto the Varion. Now it's a 3v4, a little bit more damage. This is such a weird fight just because the teams completely and totally split up.
Yeah, the teams, there were two different fights going on at that point, and one cool thing about Basco is that it doesn't really matter what spell you start, he's still going to have some decent clear. Generally, his times are going to fluctuate, and he's going to come out of the jungle with different amounts of health, but as a Basco, you can start with your E, and your clear is not going to hurt too much. You're still going to do a decent amount of damage with your basic attacks. There are 2 casts to your E as Basco, so you get 2 sources of AoE damage. So he's not hurting too much, and on top of that, he also got the stun off in the team fight, which is a really large part in terms of how they won that team fight. So it looks like after that, everyone's going to go to lane, and we have a tactician Cerulean. Okay, that's fairly
nice
standard.
Spin, nice flip, a lot of damage down onto a monk, a little bit more. He's gonna probably swap his arrows over. It's actually gonna be Tulsa who picks up that kill, and 50 Shades of Alpha stayed in those Malice arrows the entire time and got off the slow. Or Despair. Is it Despair? Despair or Malice? I want to say Malice. I want to say Malice is the slow, and Despair is the damage.
I have no idea.
No, it's the other way around. Despair is the slow, Malice is the damage. Somebody fact check me on that and correct me in the chat if they would be so kind.
So the Cerulean sort of. Oh, wait, is Basco not jungling? Oh,
no,
man.
Basco's lane. This is lane Basco.
I can't even see that. Sorry, guys.
Well, Cerulean's actually coming down. Cerulean is coming down for a
casting this
gank.
on stream.
He'll see it in a couple seconds. Zootsie Tootsie's going on top of Spinal Dash. Mina is going to instantly blink away. And it's actually Mina and Bruiser Gladiator Petrus. So much damage down onto this Petrus. A little bit more and they'll be able to pick up the kill. Nice jump away. Actually, Tulsa, he blinks right under the tower, picks up the kill. And that is going to be another kill going over to the side of BOB. They are 4-1 in this match. This is going to be really, really dangerous for Wen's Para. They're going to have to do a lot to get back into this game already, and, you know, we're only about 3 minutes in.
Okay, so, Basco's actually Gladiator. I'm sorry, I'm actually forced to cast this off of the stream, which has a 30-second delay on it.
It's okay.
So, everything I see is 30 seconds
Is your
behind
video
what
running,
happens.
too?
No, my video is paused at the moment where I actually get picture back.
Okay, good.
So,
because we have a gank up in the
something
top
went
lane.
corrupt.
The Scrag going in. They're actually going to get the flip onto Tyrese. Blinks away. Is under tower. A monk taking a ton of damage, and that's going to be the disengage. You were saying.
So, yeah. So I'm casting this 30 seconds behind what it actually is, which is very tough. It's very challenging. A lot of things are happening that I don't actually know what's going on, and on top of that, I can't see it at its full
You'll be fine.
resolution. So it's hard for me to see the shaper portraits in the map. So Gladiator Basco, very interesting, but it does give him a little bit more in terms of the source of Vim gain that he has. And I was talking about starting with his E before, and that's much more beneficial on Gladiator Basco because his W doesn't help him clear in terms of his
Is it
terms
Glad
of lane.
Basco or is it Tac Basco?
It's Glad Basco. Okay. I'm pretty sure it's Glad Basco. Tulsa hasn't actually clicked on Basco yet, so I'm not 100% sure, but C-Milk has been telling me that he is
Uzi
Gladiator.
Tutsi is playing it, so yeah, it is Gladiator, because Uzi Tutsi
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Uzi Tutsi. How do you see that? Like,
I
scroll
saw
down
that
to it?
in the previous. I saw that at the beginning of the game, and I remember Uzi Tutsi is their other Gladiator.
Okay, cool. Because I'm still behind, and this is agonizing.
I'm sorry. Do you know what
all your
timestamp it's
fault,
at?
It's at 5.
Meanwhile, in the bottom
5:01
lane,
right now.
there's actually 2 fights going on. McScrag getting caught out in the jungle. Tulsa's rotating over. Moya's going to be able to get himself out of trouble. And now, Uzi Tutsi on top of 3 targets. He's on top of Cog, and he's level 4, trying to pick up Beardish. Beardish is very, very low. Tulsa's coming in from the side. He should be able to get there in time. It's actually armor bonus out of Basco. Actually, he's going to go down. So now it looks like McScrag coming back in. Gets off the stun. Undercuts Cutie. A little bit more damage. They're going to get the flip. He's going to go down as well. So this is actually 2 in favor of Wen's Para already. And now BOB needs to be very, very careful how they continue to engage this fight. They get off the spin. They actually get off a nice snare combination switch, and Tyrese is roamed down into the lane. They're going to need to be very careful. If Desecrator gets off a little bit of CC, Mina's going to jump off, tries to get near Tulsa. They're actually going to chase them in between the towers. Oh, that's a little bit more damage down onto the King of Mass. He's going to be able to dash away. All the targets are so low, and that's going to be the disengage out of BOB. Hopefully, this is a lull in some action as Wen's Para tries to push down a tower.
Petrus has some really cool early game dynamic. What basically happens is that he can go back in and fight many times over. Basically, one thing I talked about, especially when you have Defiance, is jump in with your stun, with your AoE stun jump, spin out. Jump in with your stun jump, spin out. And you can sort of do that early game as well. Not as frequently, but you saw Beardish do that right here. He went in and out about like 3 different times. So that's a really cool mechanic that you have as Petrus, and it really helps when you have a team that can follow up on it, because you have an AoE stun and then a bunch of damage to follow up, and no matter how low you are, you can usually get out as well, and we saw Beardish do that as well. He was able to get out with enough health to be able to go back in after a few seconds with natural health regen and potions, and then he was able to AoE stun again, do some damage, and back out again.
Yep, so a little bit of pressure in this top lane. 50 Shades of Alpha is just completely zoning out a Monk. He did get a little bit more experience. A Monk was able to hit level 6 while Tulsa was out of lane, and they were able to push 50 Shades of Alpha back. But now that Tulsa's here, he hasn't finished his prosperity yet. I think that's what he's looking to get very, very soon. He's going to throw down a ward and possibly look for a play. He needs to hit level 6 to really be able to do too much more. It is almost going to get snared at, and Tyrese going to get the knock up down to 50 Shades of Alpha. The Cogn Hook comes out, but it was really short there. I'm not sure why Cutie went for the play at such maximum range. Was going for the God Hook and wasn't able to get it down. Now they're going to pressure up into the jungle. Moya is up there, so it's going to be very, very difficult for Cutie to really get anything off of that. 50 Shades of Alpha and a Monk dueling a little bit. Cutie throws down the sand. He's going to have to back up. Tulsa walking right into the bush. Doesn't really care about the damage from the Celerity Shell. He does have that Vigor and is looking for prosperity soon. So a little bit of disengage, and I think that McScragg should be able to easily pick up his buff without too much more harassment. Although 5 men stack from BOB in this top lane.
Do you think something's going to happen off of that 5-man stack?
No. Because now they're rotating back into the bottom of the lane. I'm sorry, this is so weird.
It's like you set something up like that, and I'm thinking, okay, so do I talk really shortly because like there's something that might be able to happen?
We do have a play starting on the bottom lane. Utsitutsi goes in onto Spinal Dash. Spinal Dash going to jump onto Beardish as Mina should be able to get away. McScragg came in for the play, but it wasn't able to get there soon enough to stun Mina before she was able to hop away. And when do you think your video resets itself?
My video, the BOB video resets itself at 20 minutes in.
Oh my god.
So we're gonna be doing this for a while.
When is your Warden's Para video reset?
Should be the same time as yours, where Petrus is on the spear wall.
Alright, so 1634. Actually, nice flip onto a Monk. Dash under the tower. Tyrese goes in with the blink. A lot of damage onto 50 Shades of Alpha. They're going to need to be careful. Tull still has his ultimate up, and the rest of his team is sort of on the other side of the map. I'm surprised Tulsa hasn't backed yet for his prosperity. That's going to be a huge item gain for him.
Yeah, and I want to talk a little bit about the lane dynamic between Cerulean and Kensu. Kensu is one of the AD carries that can really take advantage of Cerulean's flip quite a bit. Because for the most part, he's got slows on every single one of his auto attacks if he uses that form, and that's really going to help him put out more damage. Because if Tulsa gets him in range, it's going to take them that much longer to actually end up getting out of range, especially if they're being slowed the entire time. And on top of that, if they decide to blink away, then they've only really just made up the distance that Tulsa flipped him back for. So, see ya, Sea-Milk. Thanks for the luck. Thanks for the good luck. This whole setup will fix itself once I can actually see something that isn't on stream and I'm not casting 20 seconds behind.
This whole setup will fix itself after Tulsa goes in for a ultimate flip combo onto a Monk, and then followed up with the Moya ultimate onto the Desecrator. And they need to be very, very careful as QD is coming around the backside of this top lane. Is very, very close to being able to get off the sand, but doesn't. And now instant rotation from this Bruiser Mina combination, the Gladiator Petrus and Mina rotating up very, very quick and mobile grouping between the two of them. There's a lot of members for both teams up here. Gladiator Basco is still farming down in the bottom lane, and they're possibly looking for a play onto a Monk, but I think everybody is going to back up and go back to their lanes and just continue farming.
So it's definitely interesting how both of these teams are sort of running with the Gladiator Bruiser setup, where you have a Gladiator Basco and a Gladiator Petrus in the same game, so they're actually going to be hitting their spikes fairly just a little bit sooner than uh, they would if they were in the jungle. And on top of that, that basically allows them to add another bruiser to their comp. You keep talking about how
Tulsa
it's
needs
the
to be
bruiser
very,
gate.
very careful as there's so many bruisers up in this top lane. Finally, the hook comes out of Cuss Cutie, but it's going to be a blink away by Tulsa. The ultimate from Varion is down. A little bit more damage is just what they need. And now 50 Shades of Alpha needs to be very, very careful. Gets knocked up, gets slowed down, gets the blink off. Is able to get himself out of trouble, but it's a Monk who picks up the final kill onto him. Tyrese very, very low, needs to be careful. And I thought I saw Moya trying to solo the Parasite, but that's not going to happen. That's going to be 2 kills going over the side of Wen's Para, evening up the kill score 5-5.
Yeah, and it looks like Tulse in that engagement just went in a little bit too far, didn't actually see Cuss Cutie ready to follow up on that engagement and sort of not necessarily counter gank, but more so counter engage with a gank.
Onto Beardish. He does get vision. They do get vision onto him. Mina is there as well as Cuss Cutie, so they need to be careful. Nice ultimate out of King of Mask is going to lock down a number of targets and do a ton of damage. Now there's the Basco. Being a Basco, he does so much damage to Mina. She has to blink over the wall. Ultimate out of Petrus wasn't able to do much. They had to use that very, very early. And now I think a couple more members from Len's Pair have rotated into this bot lane. Tulsa's now making his way down. And we may see a bit more of a push onto this tower, or possibly a dive. Tulsa has his ultimate up. I don't think he's going to go for it just yet, but it should be soon.
Yes, indeed. I have no idea. I just casting off the stream is horrible.
I know. I'm sorry.
Well, back when I did it before at TDTV, it was a 4-second delay or a 3-second delay. This is 20. This is a 20-second delay. I
gotta hate Twitch and their delay.
Can't really tell.
I think we're about 3 minutes out from getting
the
Wen's Para video back, because Curse You Spinal and the fact that, well, I have no idea when your timing actually resets, because you put your camera over the timer, and it just makes me
you're
so
just
sad.
gonna have to give me like a countdown, because otherwise
I'll
I'm going to
give
be
you-
30 seconds
I'll give you
behind
a,
when
I'll
I
give
see
you
it
the best
on Tulsa's.
countdown. I'll give you the best countdown I can, because I think there'll be some action there. But looks like Uchi gonna go down to a Monk. He is going to get feared out by the Kensu ultimate. A little bit more damage on him. The chains are there. That is going to be a dead Monk. Dive comes out, and it's actually 50 Shades of Alpha picks up the kill. Flip back onto Tyrese. A little bit more damage there. The sand from Kogan isn't enough. Uchi gets that one, and now a nice hook back in. He gets a 4-man hook, but there's just still so many bodies there from BOB. They're gonna get the Moya ultimate off onto Cuss Cutie, and in back goes Uti. Nice double stun coming out of McScrag. They should pick up. Actually, Uti goes down because Beardish is here doing a lot of damage. They're going to need to be very, very careful about how much longer they engage this, because all 5 members from BOB are here, and it's one more kill. Down goes Spinal Dash over to McScrag, and that's going to be the ace coming out of BOB. They'll take another tower for this, and possibly the bottom Spirit Well.
And you can really see why Mina is such an important shaper in that, because Wen's Paris survived much longer than they really should have in that engagement, and they took the rest of BOB down so low, and all of that was a 2v4, 1 bruiser, or 3v4, 2 bruisers and a Mina. So you can see why she's a very high contested pick, and once both of these teams start fighting even fights, you're gonna start seeing a little bit more of a dynamic where Mina starts giving a team more impact, giving them a bigger lead, and some of these team fights are gonna start going heavily in one team's favor rather than what they're doing now, which is sort of in one team's favor. But the team with Mina is holding on a little bit, because Mina amplifies the rest of the damage that the rest of your team can do to their team with her ultimate, and on top of that she's got an AoE Fear. Whoever she jumps on, she soaks up some of the damage for them, and as well as gives them quite a bit of extra armor and magic resist. Or is it just flat damage resistance?
Mina's shield?
Just when Mina jumps on someone,
It's
she
just the
gives
shield.
them...
It's just the shield.
Alright, so
She
shield...
gives damage reduction when she pops her E.
Okay, that's what it is. So yeah, those are all things that really make Mina super strong, and especially when paired with bruisers who both benefit from the extra tankiness as well as want to dive in. So a bruiser dives in and Mina dives off and gets the fear off on as many people as possible because the bruiser already used their gap close to go in, and they also benefit from the extra damage that she gives because bruisers also do a lot of AoE damage most of the time. We can see Cerulean, who's on the other team. He's got a lot of AoE damage, and I'm not entirely sure who's on Wen's Para's team because I can't see it.
All
Petrus.
right.
Petrus is a really good
Three,
synergy. He's got a lot of AoE damage.
1, start. So we are now back, and we have both views, and it's going to be Cutie pulling Tulse back into the middle of the fight. He's going to dive back on top of the enemy team as they get calm ulted, and 50 Shades of Alpha is juking around the backside. He's currently dueling with Beardish. He's going to be able to dash over to the side, and it's actually going to be Desecrator who falls first. Now turning onto Beardish, a little bit more damage. Nice ultimate out of Uzi Tuti. He's going to pick up that one. Now turning onto Cutie. Actually, they need to be very, very careful as... Monk has not been taking any damage in this fight. He's looking to clean up. He picks up 2. He might pick up 3. It's actually going to be a double kill for him. Will he get the last kill? A little bit more damage down onto Uti Tutsi. Can they get him? Spinal's video's in the way. And it actually looks like Uti Tutsi will be able to blink over the wall. But that is a huge turnaround from Wen's Para. That's going to wind up being a 2 for 3 in their favor.
The very good positioning on the side of Where's Para in that team fight. They were able to basically divide and conquer, which is what you want to do with this sort of comp.
Got it, fam.
Basically, okay, cool. Where this comp thrives is you can see a lot of mobility and a lot of bruiserish. Varion has a ton of mobility, so he benefits from fighting small fights, a split-up team fight where he can sort of, just kite someone around, 1v1 them. He does a ton of damage, more so than most other AD carries if he can get the procs off on all of his, on his E, the passive on his E, where if he uses an ability, his next 2 auto attacks do extra damage.
Nice hook in by Cutie. He's going to lock down Tulse. Beardish is there, and it is just Bruiser Gate all day long. Even with the dunk coming out of Tulse, he isn't able to survive. Kensu was on his way, but he's going to fall.
And that was a very good play up in the top lane, and off of that pick, it looks like they're going to be starting to rotate down for Para, so this is going to be a really good pickup for them, especially considering that they took out one of the bruisers, one of the tankiest people who can actually end up contesting this Para, so we're going to see if BOB wants to do anything about this. Doesn't look like they are.
Yeah, no, they're not really in position. They don't have Tulse for the dive or the fight. They're just going to time out the Parasite and let it go over. And I'm just realizing exactly how much of a derp Spinal was with these overlays. It just says mute for pick bad, just massive on the screen. Either way, it looks like BOB is going to start to push out a little bit. A lot of members from Wen's Para here by this inner turret. And they're looking to start sieging.
I forgot the K on picks. It's like picks as in pictures.
Picks
rather
bans or it didn't happen
picks.
Apparently. Looks like Wen's Para is going to start to pressure onto the Spirit Well, and we'll see whether or not McScrag decides to go in. Actually, no, he isn't going to go in. It's going to be the hook coming out from Cutie. That's going to lock down a number of members. 50 Shades of Alpha goes down. The dunk out of Tulse doesn't really do much for them. Meanwhile, nice fear out of Mina is going to keep a number of targets busy as a Monk picks up the double kill, taking down McScrag and I believe it was Uzi Tutsi. So that's going to be a double kill going over for Wen's Para. It's so hard to see. Spinal. So much going on the screen.
And now I'm pretty sure I got the Where's Para video synced up. Because I was a little bit off before, so I was looking at things again, like 5 seconds behind instead of 10 seconds or 20 seconds behind. But I think we're synced up now, which is really cool. It doesn't help, obviously, that we can't see the timer, but they are going to be able to start pushing off of this and...
Spinal! So much nonsense going on his screen. Did you see him click away? I thought the video had reset. I was concerned.
I'm pretty sure he has a scene where it's game capture, which means that even if he would alt-tab, it would still show you what's happening in the game, but since he didn't switch the scenes and he's still in the picks bans thing, anytime he switches away, it's still going to be happening there. So they're going to start trying to siege down onto this next binding, and they've got quite a decent amount of tower damage that they can get, and Utsi Tutsi looks like he really wants some action. McScrag goes in.
Yep, they are going to get down a nice flip onto Beardish, but he's just so tanky. His Bruisergate, actually a really nice hook coming in from Cuskew's going to lock down a number of targets. Beardish still in the middle of the fight. The dunk comes out of Tulse. They aren't able to flip over a single target. They finally get Cuskewdy, so that's going to be a 2-for-1 in favor of BOB, so they're finally getting a little bit more ahead in these engagements. Tulse, he's actually going to go straight through. I think he actually doesn't have Blink. He's just going to look for the slow. Gets the slow onto Tyrese. Does get the flip. Nice fear out of Mina is going to separate out the targets. Miskrag is very, very low. The ultimate out of Varion is doing damage to everybody. They need to be very, very careful. The Rebirth is going to keep Tulse alive for just a little bit longer. He should be able to run out of that. But I'm surprised that just a monk did so much damage in just like so little time. Oh, wait, no, actually Mina is going to keep on diving. That is going to be the kill going over to a monk, and he's going to pick up 50 Shades of Alpha.
That's why Mina is banned every game so far, except for this one. That's why.
Except for this game.
Except for this game. And you can see right there. A monk is an AD carry, and he still survived through a lot of the damage that the rest of BOB could do, and on top of that he was outputting more damage because Mina gives the rest of your teammates more damage, and that includes a monk. So those two, along with the amount of CC that Mina can get... Oh, there we go, Spinal
Yes!
Overlay.
Yes!
And I see a big smile on his face, a huge grin. I think he's definitely laughing at himself about that one too. So we are going to be able to see timers now a little bit. So if we were out of sync anymore, we can definitely sync up now.
No, it was perfect. It's
good.
Actually perfect.
There we go. So good job on you. However, I have to say you did end up saving the syncing issues there with your awesome timing of when to restart the video.
When Petrus was just a little bit above the Spirit Well. That was all I was looking for.
Alright, so let's see what the Spinal Dash Monk combo can do in some of the rest of these team fights. I think they're definitely going to be sort of sticking together in a lot of these team fights. You know, the rest of the Wen's Paris team can sort of do their own thing. They have a lot of bruisers, and bruisers, as you know, will bruiser things, and they can split up engagements, take small fights around the team fight rather than fight one huge AoE team fight, and that's going to play to their advantage. And the two bruisers who are, or the two shapers who aren't bruisers on the side of Where's Para are Mina and Varion, who together can really do a good job and solo or 2v2 most of their opponents. Again, Mina's got her Fear, which is really, really good at keeping people CC'd. She can give people tankiness, and she can give people damage. So that's a really good extra skill to have, and I think that's one of the big reasons why Wen's Para is winning the team fights that they have been winning so far, and why they'll continue to win some of the team fights going into the later game.
Yeah, they also, the great thing about Mina is because she sits on a target, she can go so many stacking auras that just the value of having Mina right on top of your AD carry just gets doubled, because she's currently got Devotion, huge armor bonus, which is pretty big AoE, but it's still on the carry at all times. She's got Hostility on the carry at all times. She's probably building that extra Purity into a Pestilence, which will be on the carry. And actually looks like we have a little bit of an engagement. A nice flash stun comes out of Beardish. It's actually going to be the flash and the Blitz out of 50 Shades of Alpha. The Flash and Dash and Blitz out of 50 Shades of Alpha to keep himself alive. Otherwise, he would have been...
Oh, 50 Shades. I was referencing Calm. Calm ended up dashing, but...
yeah. Well, 50 burned 2 spells for that. Like, that's a lot.
That's pretty big, yeah. So it looks like off of that, they do feel confident enough to take a para, and looking at BOB, they do have it warded. They can see it, but it doesn't look like they're going to be doing anything about it, because first of all, they're too far away. They figure, all right, by the time we get there, it's going to be a little bit too late, and we're not going to be able to contest it, and they'll probably end up vanquishing it before we actually get there. So might as well not risk the team fight and try to take objectives around the map. As we can already see, Mixgrag on Moya is already down on the bot lane. He's going to try to take that Spirit Well, and it looks like Wen's Para might be taking advantage of the 4v5. They're going to start sieging right away.
Yep, instant blitz forward by Cuskewdy. He actually takes a lot of damage. Uzi Tuti going in, gets a little bit of a stun down. So he sort of burned a health bar and some other stuff, but he's able to regen through that, pretty quickly, just because obviously bruisers are the best thing in Dawngate, because they've got there are 4 bruisers in this game, or 6 bruisers in this game. There we go. That took me
3 bruisers per team.
3 bruisers per team, 6 in the game, and there's just so many health and heavy tanking items. And I don't know how close a monk is to. No, he doesn't have his fate yet. So he's actually gone non-fate. He's going single target fighting, so they're not going to have that crazy Kensu clear, and they're going to pretty much rely on picking the fights underneath the towers. As we see them going in for this. A monk actually chunking the tower down does a ton of damage to it. It's at less than half health. And the Strider Waves are starting to push up, and that's going to be really, really bad for BOB.
Yeah, BOB is going to have to watch out because, again, we keep talking about the siege potential, but there is quite a lot. Varian alone adds so much siege to a tower because the extra damage he gets on 2 basic attacks after using any ability works on bindings. So he's going to be able to take bindings really quickly with that, and a really, really far blink back. Good foresight on his part to put out the progress gate really far away, and it looks like there goes the initiation.
Nice ultimate by Calm. The ultimate out of Moya is going to pick up a monk, but they aren't able to lock him down very long. He's going to instantly dash away, and this is looking bad for BOB. Tulse is low, as well as Kensu got destroyed, and Moya got picked after he tried to pick a target. This could actually be the end of the game. They have 5 members up, a lot of health, and they've got Striders starting to push forward. They don't have the other wave of Striders in the base, but I don't think that matters, as they've got so many bruisers and pretty good health bars here. They're going to have to be careful how they pick the fight because QD is very, very low. It actually looks like Uti wants to go in. Beardish does get off the stun. The laser is there. That's actually going to zone a monk over to the side, but it's favorable for him. He's able to continue doing damage, continue trying to bring down that laser core. There goes laser core. Tulse goes in for the dive, but he's actually not able to pick up any targets. There's too many rebirths on the side of Wenspera, and they might be able to get Tulse a little bit more damage from a monk. Now they're on top of the King of Masks. He's going to blink away, but just still, all the members are there. They're going to need to be careful. The 2 remaining members from BOB are coming up, and they're looking to just take down this tower, get their super minions into the base, and back away. Wenspera getting a lot off of one fight.
Yeah, the next push is probably going to be the one that ends it so long as Wenspera takes the team fight. And I really think they will. You know, their bruiser comp is faring really well, and if you look over the side of BOB, you know, you have Basco, the Gladiator Basco, but who exactly does he target? Everyone is a bruiser except for 2 shapers, and those 2 shapers are Mina and Varian. Mina, who's going to be staying on Varian to give him a lot of extra tankiness, as well as she can jump off, as I keep saying, land the fear, and on top of that, Varian already has some really good kiting potential with his progress gate, but so as Basco, what exactly do? You can't really target one shaper to zone them and kill them because they're just going to be able to turn on you and they're going to be able to do damage to you. So really interesting. Again, this game sort of goes the way of one team almost out-comping the other team. You know, there's really no glaring weakness in Wenspera's team play right now. They don't have as much damage as a team with a full-on mage would have, but at the same time, they don't really need it because Varian is such a hard carry. He ends up doing so much damage towards the late game, and he also shreds people very well, that it doesn't really matter that they don't really have a mage. They can just rely on his damage and have the rest of the bruisers, you know, lower armor and magic resist, have the rest of the bruisers run around, do all of their damage over time, and that's really going to be what allows them to come back into the game. And the closest thing they have to a mage is Desecrator, who still puts out a lot of damage as well. He's a bruiser, tanky, puts out tons and tons of damage.
Yeah, they just have 4 people who can peel for a monk all day long. Like,
yeah,
Mina,
that too.
3 CCs, 2 CCs out of Mina plus her ultimate. 3 CCs out of Kagan, 3 CCs out of Petrus, 3 CCs out of Desecrator.
2 CCs out of
2
Petrus.
CCs out of Petrus, 4 CCs out of Desecrator, to be honest.
Yeah, he's got the silence clap, his big slow, the his snare, and his knockup. So yeah, tons and tons of CC on their side. So anyone who wants to go carry diving, even if they blitz through the initial amount of CC, there's still so much to follow up. And most of the CC we mentioned aren't even on ultimates. None of Desecrator's CC rests on his ultimate unless he picks up Control, Inevitability, or Pursuit. So his ultimate is just going to add on more damage, whereas the rest of his abilities are on fairly short cooldowns. They're probably about 7 or 8 seconds, depending on how much haste he builds. I don't actually know that. If you could check on the master sheet of the God Old Malk. I actually made a good wordplay there.
The God Old Malk as to what
God Old
Desecrator
Malk.
was building.
Yeah, mostly how much haste he has, because his cooldowns can be really low. He's going to be able to put out CC very quickly, especially considering that none of those are ultimates. So it looks
Game
like
2, he had...
Wen's Para just took Parasite. They're going to back off, buy items, and I think they're just going to go for that last game-ending push right now.
Actually, he really only has a Harmony, which normally you wouldn't think would be a lot, but that's actually quite a lot because of what Harmony does.
Yeah, every auto attack by any of his fellow compatriots in action, his fellow shapers from the... There's no really unified place that they're all from. I guess the closest you could get is the West, because Petrus is from the West.
Varion's from the West.
Varion's from the
Mina's
West.
From the West, I think.
I don't know where
Kagan's
Mina's from.
the I think Mina's from the West. Mina's from Rich. Mina was a rich
Desecrator
woman.
is Desecrator's sort of from the West and the North. He's really weird. He's reanimated and all that stuff, so not necessarily belonging to any faction, but I guess this could be a West heavy comp, you could say.
Either
But yeah, they're going to be able to get quite a bit of and all of this conversation
Started
sparked out
with
of harmony
harmony.
actually, which is weird. But yeah, they're going to be able to proc a lot of the harmony because the rest of the shapers do quite a bit of basic attacking, especially Varion. So his cooldowns are going to be very low, and that's going to help him put out a lot more damage. And it's a lot of cooldown reduction you get without a lot of haste. Where Desecrator doesn't really need haste so much as he needs cooldown reduction. His goal is not to get out as many auto attacks as possible or rush into the back line. So any cooldown reduction that he can get without having to get haste is actually really value on him.
Yep, so we see the dives starting. They were looking for a play, but Baska was able to jump away. Instantly goes in the Petrus. He's going to do a bit of damage, and they're going to bring down the bubble core. That's actually all the cores down. So they may be able to just kite around this and just finish the Guardian off without picking the full fight. Down comes the Sans. Actually, there's the initiation out of the Kensu. The Kensu ultimate is down. Dunk right onto a monk. They're trying to bring him down. He's actually going to get away. He's completely out of the fight and starts to destroy Uzi Tutsi. Starts to destroy 50 Shades of Alpha. Picks up Zugil. And they're going on top of Tulsa. A little bit more damage. No, Tulsa's under the... he's back in the fountain. That's going to be the game going over to the side of Wen's Paris. So we're sitting at 1-1 in this best of 3. There's one more game left.
That was a really good game by Where's Para, and you saw during that last team fight.
Oh my god, Green Shades of Doom!
Wait, just wait it out. I hope it'll work.
All right,
I hope it'll go back to...
Tulsa
So let's just talk while things
Tulsa
happen.
evens himself out, so we're set.
Alright, cool. Now, as you saw in that last team fight, everyone jumped onto a monk. They used the Cerulean's flip, they used basically everything they could, and all that happened... Mina jumped down, feared everyone, and then he progress gated out. Bam. There you go. And then suddenly Varion's safe, he's doing damage to everyone, and meanwhile, while all that stuff happened, while they were trying to dive a monk, the bruisers were doing damage. So that's really one of the big things that made their comp work out so well, and part of the reasons that they won the game. So I can definitely see a Mina ban coming in this time. I think they won't make the mistake of not banning Mina again.
Damn it, Caboose, stop messaging me. Yes, Mina's probably going to be banned in this game, as the statistics showed she only made it through once.
I even forgot about those. I forgot that we know that
know.
Mina has only been picked once.
We're
so
aware.
It's had to have been banned.
Had to have been banned. We are prepared. And actually, the videos are nice and almost synced up. I'll have them perfectly synced soon. Kindra ban.
We'll check it out in game.
Kindra ban. Have we seen Kindra banned? How many times was Kindra banned in this tournament? Master Sheet. Kindra was banned twice in this tournament. Only played once. So that's...
Do you know who she was banned against? Because if it was BOB both times, maybe?
I can try and look. I will attempt
Kindra
to
is
look.
definitely a weird ban.
Yeah, because she's, her assassination capability is nice, but I really wouldn't say it's ban worthy when there are so many other terrifying things. Like, Mina has to be the last ban because she was only picked in one game, unless they don't pick her, and that would make no sense because of how much Mina is said
Mina
to be
up and not
favored.
picking her.
Mina played in one game, and she won that game. Mina has 100% win ratio.
we saw that she was part of the reason that they won the game as well.
Like,
It's not just,
there's no
oh,
way
it was
Wen's pair is gonna
coincidence.
leave up Mina.
It's
But
yeah.
unless she just wasn't picked, which would just not make
I don't
any
think that-
sense.
I don't think that happens. I
think
don't
that's
call
a
that.
thing. I think
Anyway,
you're
hurry
right.
up and check the Kindra ban statistics.
Well, she was banned twice. I think. Let me see if I can figure out.
Because if they're
when-
both against BOB, then that would make sense.
No, it was banned against Wen's Para in their first game against SRT. So those were the only two times Kindra was banned. And we're getting down to the wire. It's Mina. It's freaking Mina.
Oh, we're left in suspense. He took down the
I
screen.
swapped it back, but Spinal's in the way. But it's okay right now. It's okay that Spinal's in the way because he will
screen's
switch
back
it.
up.
And we're back. We're back to here. And
10 seconds.
Man, they really
10
drew
seconds
this
to
one
ban
out.
Mina. This is actually a little bit more stressful than I thought it would be because we were like, yeah, it's gonna be
Okay,
Mina.
it's Mina.
There we go. Okay, cool. Because I was really
Insta-dipstick.
worried because if they were gonna ban Mina, I think that's what they were debating. We were like, all right, wait, do we ban Mina or Dibs? Because they're both bans that are 100% ban worthy. They're both extremely strong shapers, and I think for the most part, BOB just sort of put them in that position where they had to ban either or. Now that leads me to question the Kindra ban a little bit more, because Kindra can be really powerful
I
if she
think
gets
they were trying
resets,
to
and if you
bait
have
it
the right
over.
team that gets enough of the initial burst down, then Kindra can clean up really easily, get a bunch of resets, and everything's good. I honestly think that one of the better ideas for Wen's Para would be not to ban Mina or Dibs. Just ban someone
I
completely
think they were
different.
trying to do
because
the other version of the mind game. They were trying to be like, we're gonna throw away a ban and not ban either of them and see if we can force them to ban both and leave up something else. Like, I think it was all mind
But
games.
when BOB called that bluff though and didn't ban either of them, I think that Wen's Para shouldn't have banned either of them as well, because what could have happened here is that they ban, say, Mara or Varion or someone like that, and that leaves up both Dibs and Mina. So what they could have done was say, all right, you guys have your choice of Dibs or Mina, we'll take the other one, because they're both extremely strong shapers. And at this point, I think that would have been a better idea, because even though they would have given up Mina, who is by far a really powerful shaper, they would have been able to pick up Dibs rather than not get either. So that could have been a possible thing that they could have done. I'm still just sort of wondering about the Kindra ban. Has she been played at all the tournament?
Yeah, she played once during the tournament, and Kindra was played once, banned twice, and she has 100% win ratio. So she won the one game she played, and it was Wen's Para who played her.
Okay, that doesn't make too much sense in terms of why Wen's Pair would ban her, though. I don't really.
Either way,
the
let's talk
BOB
about the actual
players-
picks that are gonna be.
Fine.
that
Fine. I just want to say that none of the BOB players strike me as Kindra players. So
I
it's
don't know how many of them play it often, as far as I can tell. Just because this tournament was only played once over this tournament, I think hopefully for the next tournament I'll be able to put together a nice compilation of all of Malk's stats, and we'll be able to get a little bit better of a competitive spectrum. I may even throw it into my psycho crazy statistical calculator that I've been working on. Who knows? But we do have Varion, Dibs, and Amaranth over on the side of BOB. Wen's Para has got King of Masks, Renzo, and Kagen.
I think so far BOB won out in the pick ban phase. Obviously they got Dibs, but their second two picks were also Amaranth and Varion. So far in this series, any team who has had Varion has won, and part of that is just because of the amount of sheer damage he can do late game. He's got his own sort of peel in the fact that he can progress gate out. Sorry, we're not power slamming, but yeah. So he can progress gate out, so he's got a lot of his own survivability, and we saw how good he was in the past two games. So, it's sort of weird that they would let that through, and even more to the point, pick Renzo instead, because I think they could have sat on the Renzo. I think they could have picked Varion away. A Monk was a very good Varion player. He could have easily made that work. So Varion, King of Masks as their first two picks, and leave Renzo up because if BOB takes it, then that's not quite as substantial as if BOB takes both Amaranth and Varion. And Amaranth is so strong because of her sheer initiation capability, as well as counter initiate. That wave is such a huge burst damage as well as CC. It's got it can turn around a fight really easily, it can initiate a fight really easily, so I'm sort of wondering how they let both of those two picks through.
I'm not sure, but I'm taking again a look at these stats. Varion, most picked AD carry in the entire game. Was picked 12 games, never banned, and had a 75% win ratio. That's really
75?
Yeah. 75%
That's winning
of the
three
games,
times more games than you lose.
75% of the games.
I'm wondering why that doesn't warrant a ban then.
Nine victories, 3 losses, in comparison to the Michaela that Among has been playing. Michaela's picked 8 times, but Michaela only won 3 out of her 8 games. She won 3 times, lost 5, 38% win ratio. So clearly the statistics are going to favor Varion in that matchup. Last 2 picks coming out of BOB, we've got Mara, hard tank, get in your face, I tank. That's pretty much what she does. And that could actually be Utsi Tutsi playing that Gladiator Mara that I saw in the stats. And McScrag going to be playing the Salus, one of the great initiators, and just an overall great ganking jungler in Dawngate.
Yeah, Salus's 6 item falls off a little bit. He can't do as much damage as he wants, and he's not as tanky as a lot of other main tanks that actually get some sort of steroid boost to their tankiness. But he's still extremely strong in the early and mid game, and honestly, if you get to 6 items, it's very rare that you'll get to a 6 item build when playing against a Salus unless you play really, really well. So that's going to help out part of their build, and I think that's also going to synergize well with Dibs, because Dibs can help make action happen around the map in the early game. That's going to help Salus counter jungle, that's going to help Salus force ganks, and it's going to help them catapult into that early game lead that we want them to get.
Man, these green screens of doom. Luckily, we have 2 videos, and I've got that swapped over. So until that one sorts itself out, we'll be following Tulsa for a little bit while.
Well, Tulsa's in game now.
Yeah, Tulsa's in game, so it should be fine.
All right, I'm gonna wait until the green screen ends for Where's Para, and then we'll sync it up from there.
Exactly. So we have BOB stepping out into the lane. We've got Tulsa on his, in my opinion, I'd say he's a pretty signature Dibs player. He plays a lot of Dibs, at least in
He's
competitive.
very good at it. He draws bans too.
Yeah, he does draw bans.
Wow,
Man.
we just saw a flash of a king of masks, and suddenly Salus is dead. A very, very strong setup, I think. This might be just researching of the teams, but Where's Para actually managed to bushwhack them right there, and they might have known that every time.
It was
God, what's his name?
McScrag?
No, it was Cuskey who went up to go. Or yeah, it was McScrag who went up to go.
When they might know that every time they play, McScrag goes up toward the enemy resilience, and they said, all right, let's just 5-man stack there, let's catch him out. And that might be one of the reasons why they were able to pull that play off and get a really early kill. So that's going to help them out with a little bit in terms of experience and Vim. So the rest of this, they're just sort of making sure that there's no follow-up sort of invade. They're trying to stay around the mid to sort of make sure that no one steals their haste. And now they're going to go back into normal lanes. So what are your timers for in-game?
146 on both.
Okay, so I'm just gonna speed up to 146 then on the
2 minutes in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 2 minutes. So you should be close to where I am now. So again, we've got When's Para going with the Petrus. They like this Gladiator Petrus build. On the other side, Utsi Tutsi is going to not be playing that Mara. It's actually going to be him on the Amaranth. So a Gladiator Amaranth going to be able to try, and her farming is a little meh, but I think she'll be fine. She gets to harass the Petrus pretty much without, any real trouble, at least for the first 2 levels.
Yeah, and I have everything completely synced up now, so we're all good. So Dibs and Varion, very good lane combo. Varion's got a long-range poke ability on his Q, and that's really good for proccing Dibs' Nightmare, which You'll see every now and again Dibs will nightmare something, and then 50 Shades will generally try to hit it with his Q. And on top of that, Tulse has a shield on Dibs. That's really huge. An early game shield that is up fairly often. Renzo's really the only other shaper that can do that to one of their allies. So it's a very strong ability. It really helps for trading. And again, we see Tulse running his Warden page, and that's going to help him even more in terms of the amount of poke that he wants to do, because Nightmare is what I like to call within standard spell range, and that's really most common spells in the game have the same sort of range, and I call that standard spell range. And so a lot of times he wants to get within that so someone can trade back against him, especially King of Masks, who can dash, do something, and then dash backwards. And that's going to increase his range a little bit, so Tulse has that to basically help the trades in his favor and not get poked down as much when he goes in to try to land Nightmare procs.
Yep. So again, we see the Michaela versus Varian matchup. That tends to be a little bit dangerous for them, but actually a gank into a counter gank. Now McStrike, he did get off the a nice whatever that Q is called. God, I never remember the name of that Q, but it did manage to bounce onto more than one target, and Tulse is told to turn on his overlay because he forgot to turn it on. So gank into counter gank, both junglers thinking along the same lines as they really want to snowball this AD carry lane.
Yeah, the AD carry lane is going to be where a lot of the action happens. Now, in the other lane, we have really safe lanes. Mara is safe in the fact that she is just tanky. She gets free lifesteal when she's next to her trees, and she gets more health off of collecting acorns as well, so she's got quite a bit of sustain. It's going to be hard to poke her down. You're only really going to full-on kill her in a extended poke war or full-on engagement, something like that. And on the other side, we have Renzo and Petrus. Petrus is not too safe, but that can be sort of countered out with Renzo in the fact that whenever Beardish decides to go in for CS, if it looks like there's any danger, Spinal Dash can just shield him and no damage is done whatsoever. Although I do like the fact that Beardish is also running Warden, so whenever he goes up to CS, he can take one free auto attack in terms of damage, maybe two depending on who auto attacks him. Amaranth's auto attacks are not necessarily too strong, and that's going to allow him to trade back things well. He's going to be able to farm a little bit, going to have a little bit better time in terms of his farming.
Yeah, it's one of the bonuses to a couple of certain AD carry pages. There is the all damage quad lifesteal page where you wind up with 8% lifesteal. The other option is if you play a character who does very, very well with a lifesteal item, or you play a character who does very, very well without a lifesteal item, at least an early one, in terms of just like really strong with burst, people who build early pain. I think Varian is one of them. You go the Warden Stone, and it lets you stick some extra armor into your page. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, we have a little bit of a gank going on. A lot of damage. Nice hook back by Cuss Cutie is going to lock down a number of targets. Mara is very, very low. They are going to pick up the kill onto her. Beardish. Ooh, he needs to be very careful how he plays these next few seconds. He's going to go in. Actually, there's a perfect shield in from Spinal Dash. He's going to get off the stun. He's going to go down, but McScribe, very, very low, needs to be careful. He's going to walk away, and it's going to be a 2-for-1 in favor of one's para. And looks like Tyrese had roamed down here as well, so they're going to be able to continue getting some pressure down.
Tyrese is down there. Tulse is down here as well. He rotated around just to make sure that they wouldn't get as much pushing down on the binding as they could have. And that's another good thing that Dibs can do is that I think he's probably going to end up getting level 6 off of this wave. So if anything happens in the top lane, he could be right back up there with his ult. 50 Shades was in any danger. It looks like he's actually going to go back up there before hitting level 6. He's only a few minions off, so I think he could have stayed there for a little bit longer, soak up some more experience, and get to level 6 before heading top. But either way, he's going to hit it right about now, and that's it's going to be able to allow him to get that global map pressure with his ultimate, which is really strong. And we're going to start seeing a little bit of that start to happen, I believe, because BOB is really a team that's heavy on the rotations. They really, really love to rotate for objectives, and Dibs exemplifies that so well.
Yeah, Dibs was banned 11 times in the tournament, picked 3, 67% win ratio, so he won 2 out of 3 games. So pretty good in his favor. I'd say that, Dibs, the combination of Dibs Varion, just the statistical bonus there is just, makes you feel good. It's like, oh yeah, our shapers are, have played really, really well over the course of the tournament. Granted, the teams don't have these stats, but if you looked things up and you had a statistician doing this stuff for you ahead of time, you'd be able to see that, and it lays into going into the next tournament. How much are we gonna let Dibs and Varion get picked? Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, Cutie is lurking in this bush for the Hook of Destiny. He flinched there. They might have seen that because you can see. It looks like Bearish is gonna go in. You've actually got Tyrese roaming down. Salas does get off a nice Q combo and is gonna lock down Tyrese, but they don't have the numbers there. It's 4v3, and now it looks like a Monk is rotating in. So is 50 Shades of Alpha. I'm surprised that we're going to see a 5v5 team fight this early over a tower. Actually, it looks like both teams are going to back off as they realize that the gank or counter gank potential is pretty much gone.
Yeah, and the entire time, 50 Shades was actually still in the top lane, sort of farming it out, so I would actually argue that he sort of won out in this engagement. He's going to be, a half a level or a level ahead of his lane opponents, and he's going to have a little bit more vim in terms of his farm as well, and we already see he's level 7 to the rest of his enemies level 6. That's going to last for a few more seconds. I think Michaela just leveled up, so it's a very small advantage, but an advantage nonetheless. And yeah, Amongst level 7 now, so they're going to have a little bit of extra pressure in the top lane because 50 Shades did not end up rotating down for that. And back to normal laning. Again, bottom lane is for the most part going to be a farm lane unless we see ganks.
Though. We have a gank up in the top side of the map. It's actually Cutie was sneaking in to the jungle. Is going to try and lock down my Scrag. They're not going to use the stun yet. Tyrese taking a lot of damage. Eats a huge amount of damage from the Salas. And the ultimate out of Tulsa to give them a little bit more of a bonus. They aren't able to make a play there. Meanwhile, in the middle of the map, Tulsa's actually going to ult in to the side. They're looking to get onto British. They do get the stun and the snare down. A little bit more damage there. The Nightmare's there. McScrag comes in, picks up the kill. Now turning onto Spinal Dash. They may be able to pick him up. A nice fear out of Tyrese. He's going to lock him down. Ultimate pulls McScrag back. And now another dash in by, or a nice vine in by the Mara. Yeah, is going to attempt to re-engage the fight, but they were able to get pretty much everyone away and traded 1 for 0. So fight in favor of BOB.
Yeah, BOB definitely won out on that, and I would also, again, like to commend Tulsa on his Dibs play. That was really good team communication, good map awareness, and I think part of that might have been a little bit planned. They said, alright, so bot lane, while you're rotating over, if you guys get into an engagement, I can ult down because I'm going to be using my ultimate in this engagement right here. Obviously, he said it a lot faster and less eloquently than that because time is always of the essence when you're playing pro Dawngate, but the general idea was there, so he was able to use his ultimate to force the rest of the engagement off of off of McScrag, because no one wants to initiate or continue fighting an engagement when your opponents have an extra 25 extra power. And on top of that, he was able to rotate down while his ultimate was already on towards that sort of para section of the map, as well as get 1 or 2 kills off of that as well. So BOB with really good rotational play again right there, and we can see why Tulsa is usually banned on Dibs.
Yeah.
Or Dibs is usually banned against Tulsa.
Yes, there we go.
Can't really ban a player. That would be OP.
We're gonna ban Tulsa. I don't want to see him. Do you guys have somebody else? I don't know.
Yeah, we're gonna force you guys to use a sub
what
that
would
you might not have.
esports be if you could ban the roster?
Players.
Oh man,
That's an interesting thing, though, isn't it?
I want to run a tournament.
I feel like I'm thinking the same thing. I sort of want to run a tournament.
Anyways, back to the game. We'll brainstorm this and we'll get back to you that one in a couple of weeks. Either way, very strong pressure out of BOB. They're starting to climb back from that a little bit of a kill deficit they had. Just really good plays out of Beardish, and then there was that early pick by Cutie onto McScrag. The bottom lane, we haven't talked too much about it because there's, granted there's fighting down there. It's just this weird bruiser lane where everyone's just supposed to be farming and not really doing anything. And, top lane is where we want to talk because there's just so much more fighting going on there, I guess. I don't know. It's weird. These are very odd lane setups, but I don't really know what to say about, this bruiser lane should beat that bruiser-ish lane.
Yeah, the bruiser lane is just going to be a farm lane unless ganks happen, really.
I mean, there's an Amaranth down there, but everybody's so tanky, you can't really make a kill.
Well, at that end, Amaranth also has really good escape mechanic. You know, she can bubble, wave, and then dash out if anything goes super wrong. That's a ton of CC, and she's going to be able to dash out. And on top of that, she's got Mina to protect her, which is pretty huge, but we see her rotate up to the top lane.
Yep, huge play coming in, and Tulse did a really good job of baiting them forward.
50 Shades acceleration gated out as well.
Yeah. Progress gated.
Progress gate,
It's not League of Legends. There's no
Gonna get
Jason
that.
here.
No power slam.
Meanwhile, you've got all the members of BOB rotating up here, and it's going to be Mara going in. She actually misses that combination. Nice hook back in by Just Cutie. That's so much damage, but he's getting burned, and just a really good play out of Salas to come in and lay down his stun. That is going to be a double kill going over to Mixcrag. They've turned on a Spinal Dash, a little bit more damage. He's going to get off 2 procs of that Q that time. He's on a killing spree. That's a triple kill. Uzi Tutsi was looking for another one, but that was amazing, and they should be able to push down a tower off this. I would be scared if I were a Monk. He's probably going to get dived unless Tyrese can protect him, and they should have the numbers to just take the tower. Actually, a nice Maravine in, a little bit more damage onto a Monk. 1 or 2 more basic attacks. The slow is there. 1 more. They are going to get it with Uzi Tutsi picking up the kill with a nice Q out of Amaranth, and I think they should still be able to get the tower soon. Actually, no, everybody's way too low.
They're really low,
They're
yeah.
looking to back off. Salas has left the lane. You've actually got 50 Shades of Alpha going into the bottom lane to start pushing, so really good turnaround by BOB.
Oh yeah, huge team fight. Really good reaction times on BOB's part as well. And the Coggan hook was great. Caught out 3 people. 50 Shades of Alpha was one of them. And it started off really well. The problem was that the rest of Where's Para instantly dove right on all of those targets. And that forced 3 or 4 of them to be clumped up in the same spot. And then as you said, Mixcrag comes in with Salas's ultimate, which is AoE stun / slow. He's going to be able to put out a lot of damage as well as CC. Amaranth also laid in with her ultimate as well, knocking people up, dealing a ton of damage. And between those two and the rest of the, you have Varion's Q and Varion's ultimate, tons of damage all across the board in that really tight AoE, and they actually ended up getting bursted down more than they were able to burst out, especially considering that Coggan's hook doesn't actually do a lot of damage on its own. So one of the big problems there was that the rest of Where's Para sort of clumped in on those targets as soon as the Coggan hook landed. Part of that is just Beardish has to do so with Petrus, because Petrus can't do anything from a distance. It's quite literally impossible because he has no range to anything.
I don't know, that punch is a little bit outside melee range.
It's a little bit outside melee range, but you still have to get really close to use it. And on top of that, I think, I forgot who else it was, but other people ended up dashing in a little bit too close and got caught out by the wave as well.
Too much, looking to get off an ultimate.
Yeah, so we're going to see Mixcrag pushing a little bit more of his pressure in the top lane, and looks like we might be looking at baiting out Para a little bit. Some teams trying to catch out. Pings were down all across the map, but it looks like no one's going to end up doing anything quite yet. So we're just going to see a rotation up to the top lane. Whereas Para looks like they're going to try to force something again onto this top lane. And as we said before, top lane's where the action's going to be. That's where the 2 AD carries are.
Yeah, it's really what they need to get snowballing. Have some tentacles over the wall. You can actually put that particle effect almost inside the wall, and it'll still proc to people. Like it'll still track to targets. So looks like Lens Parrot is going to back off and head back to the standard lanes. Cutie goes in, does get the hook onto Tulse. They are going to try and burn him down, but out comes the cleanse and the ultimate. Now, Mara trying to lock down a single target. They're finally going to get a Monk. Tulse is going to jump forward. They're going to pick up a single target, looking to get onto Cutie. They've got so much tankiness here, but the tower is still up. Amaranth goes in with the bubble, doesn't manage to land it, sets the Piranhas onto the King of Mass, does a chunk of damage to him, but they will be able to take this tower. Now McScrag, he's on the hunt. He's looking for a caught-out target. They might be 5-man rotating into the bottom lane to get Petrus, or they're going straight for the Parasite. It looks like it's going to be Para. That is stage 2 Parasite, so they'll be able to get some good pushing Striders off of this as well as the buff.
Yeah, very good play over there by BOB, and part of that was also, where's Para? You know, they landed the Coggan hook, but there wasn't enough follow-up. They couldn't instantly burst down dibs.
Cutie was thinking about it. He stepped up to possibly try and vanquish that away, but it's going to go right over to BOB.
Still a 1v5.
Yeah, you would have gone for it.
Yeah.
You totally would have gone for it.
Well, the thing I play junglers with a little bit more mobility than Coggan as well. Whereas Coggan doesn't necessarily have a way to just get in there. Unless his blitz was up, he doesn't have any dashes, jumps, or anything like that, whereas, you know, usually I play someone like Petrus, who can jump, spin, blink, all that good stuff. and that'll help me steal any pairs that I want to steal. But Kagan doesn't have those luxuries, so I think for the most part, since his blitz was down, he didn't want to run straight into it because he would definitely be CC'd long enough to get completely bursted down before he could do anything about it. So good call there, just not to risk it. And part of what I was talking about before is that in the top lane, we saw that play happen where he ended up hooking in Tulse, but there wasn't enough straight up follow up to burst down Tulse before the engagement happened, and that's really what they sort of needed, was the straight up burst. They weren't able to do that, so the rest of BOB were able to collapse on it, on top of the fact that suddenly 5 members of BOB were there. What looked as a 3-on-3, I believe, or a 3-on-2, turned into a 3-on-5 almost instantly, and they weren't quite expecting that. They had a lot of chase potential, and they were able to pick up the kill and para afterwards.
So looks like BOB is starting to rotate members down in this bottom lane. A little bit of damage out from Amaranth onto Beardish. And that tower's actually really, really low. They should be able to just walk up and take this for free. One auto attack does the trick. They're able to get that tower, now looking to pressure on into an inner turret. And now we see the Dibs split push like only a Dibs can. So Dibs is going to stay up in this top lane, and he's going to split push. He's going to just get the wave going. They've got the Striders. This is a perfect opportunity for them to do it. His ultimate is up. He can join the fight at any time. Meanwhile, his team is kind of messing around in the bottom half of that map, trying to bait them over towards the Spirit Well and give Tulse time to get the wave up to the tower. Once that happens, I think we'll see an engagement.
Once it does, and it looks like the rest of Where's Para is going to try to rotate around, but Beardish goes in for it. There goes the ultimate in from Dibs.
Yep, Dibs is going to ult right into the back line, is followed up with the Amaranth wave, a little bit more damage, but everybody's really kind of tanky. They need to be careful about how they continue to fight this fight. Tulse does have the pain. They're going to get Spinal Dash really, really low. Cuss QD is also low. Out comes the King of Mass ultimate, which is going to lock down a number of targets, but I don't know. They can still take this Spirit Well. They can take the Spirit Well pretty much for free. They got enough targets very, very low. Tulse was able to get the wave pushing in top lane. They should be able to do something with it. Beardish is actually farming out at high speed, spinning his way through, and that's going to be a Spirit Well going over to BOB.
And part of that was also BOB doing a good job with their decision making in terms of not chasing too far. You know, they could have chased down the Spinal Dash kill under the tower because he was really low, but they decided to say, alright, they were on the run the entire time they were fighting. They didn't have enough time to turn around and start attacking us, so we're all still basically full of health. We can pressure this Spirit Well, we can get the Spirit Well right now, get some objectives on the map, and continue to siege afterwards. And as you can see, they are almost basically full health. Mixgrag is the only one who isn't quite full health, so that was a really good play calling on their part to just not be too greedy and take their wins and make objectives happen with minor victories.
Yeah, looks like they're going to send 50 Shades of Alpha and Tulse to rotate and again try and get this tower pushing. They have Mixgrag on South stealing away a buff, so he'll be able to re-rotate in with the team if they need that. They actually have Tulse going down to this bottom tower to help defend. And ooh, a nice hook onto Uti Tuti. He's actually going to be able to blink away and dash straight through it. Mara now is taking up a lot of damage. Just pop the ultimate out. Tulse is there laying through some shields to try and mitigate the damage that came off of that drain. And 50 Shades of Alpha is actually taking a Spirit Well up in the top lane while the wave pushes, so 2 objectives at the same time. They're going to need to be careful about what they do with this Renzo stun onto Tulse. They're trying to finish off the tower. They will get it. And now Beardish looking for a play is going to try and knock onto Tulse. Nice stun out of Cuss Cutie, and Mixgrag goes in. Nice ultimate is going to lock down a number of targets. In comes the Amaranth ulti. Beardish is going to go back in. He's looking for that Mara. A little bit more damage. The combo ultimate isn't going to hit anything. Tulse is going to throw out the ultimate. That's going to get them a little bit more damage. A binding actually going down. Spirit Well binding for 50 Shades of Alpha, and now Tulse is rotating up there with perfect timing on his Dibs ultimate to help push a tower.
Yeah, and I think they might even be able to get the base tower as well, because Spinal Dash is just now heading back. It's going to take them a few extra seconds to actually get to that tower once they finally go back. It looks like the tower is going to go down. Really good play right there by BOB, and they said, alright, the 4 of us can hold this off. We might not be able to keep the tower up, but we're going to be doing really well on our positioning. We're not going to die to any of them, and we're not going to give up more than 1 binding. So 50 Shades of Alpha just took that and ran with it. 1 Spirit Well and 2 bindings. And as you said before, Tulsa's ultimate was perfectly timed. It was up at that point as well, and they were able to rotate off of that on top of everything that happened. Really good play right there. And again, Dibs. Dibs' global map pressure is so huge. He has that He's the only shaper in the game that can teleport anywhere he wants on the map. And on top of that, there's, unlike, say, League of Legends, there's no spell, there's no, well, in League of Legends, there's summoner spells. In Dawngate, they're just spells, but none of those can actually teleport you to one of your bindings or anything like you can in League of Legends. So that's why the global map pressure offered by Dibs is more than someone, say, like Twisted Fate in League of Legends or Shen, because it's unique to Dibs. No one else can do it.
Yeah, and I think the biggest problem is because the map is so small, it lets him sort of be everywhere. And it's why we've seen him as such a contested pick / ban. And it looked like Wen's Para were going to be able to win that fight. They had a lot of good pressure. They just didn't have the Kogan ultimate, and I think that was a problem. Had they Kogan ulted Tulse right as he blinked, they would have been able to lock him down. That might have stopped the tower push top, and that might have resulted in them killing him and Uti Tuti, who had been stunned up. So I think just the timing on the engagement was a little bit off, and had they had one or two more ultimates, I mean, also the Calm ultimate missed, and I think that was a problem. If the Calm ultimate had landed at that one to anyone, they might have still been able to pick up a kill. But again, we see Tulsa up in the top lane is going to keep on pushing up those waves. Parasite is back up, and meanwhile on the bottom we have a little bit of an engagement. Spinal Dash taking a lot of damage, eats the ultimate from 50 Shades of Alpha. Out comes the wave. That's actually just going to be an instant pick, and ooh, nice hook onto 50 Shades of Alpha. Are they going to get him? I think that last tower shot is going to follow. They are going to pick him up there. Beerdish is in the middle of the fight. He's the one who got the kill on the 50 Shades of Alpha. Now looking to get through this tank line. They can't get onto the Amaranth, and they're pretty much trying to deal with McScrag. McScrag is going to go down, so it's going to be a 2 for 2 so far, but the health bars are definitely in favor of BOB right now, and they should be able to keep pressuring this. They still have one of their carries at pretty good health. Actually, Uti Tuti going to get locked down, gets stunned, gets slowed. He is going to pick up the kill onto the comp piece. He got down the bubble. Out comes the long-range Q from Uti Tuti. That's a double kill, and a little bit more damage onto the tower. Oh no, do they have the minion wave? Yeah, they have enough minion wave here to pick up this tower, and that is going to be another binding going down in favor of BOB. That's 11-5, and they've got all the spirit wells too.
They're going to go for para off of this as well, or going to go back as well. I don't think they have enough health for that.
They also didn't have McScrag.
Right, McScrag is a very large part of their para-taking force, so either way, that's still a really, really good fight on their part, and you saw that even though 50 Shades Alpha was killed in that fight, the rest of their team was just so tanky that they could peel for Amaranth, that they could do damage themselves and just not die. And I almost want to see... I want to say this, but again, I don't see the items, but like another Ruin or another Decay would be a really good item pickup on someone from... Whereas Para, but at the same time, their comp doesn't necessarily lend towards too many of those. Ruin can go on to Michaela, but outside of that, there's not really too much they can do in terms of health percentage that would really synergize well with any of their picks. Maybe King of Masks could pick something up,
on that
but
team, yeah, no one on that team has at this point in the game a Ruin, so they'll definitely need to get one. Meanwhile, we have the Parasite going down to BOB. Actually, the ultimate came out of Varian. That hit Cutie in the face took him very, very low. I would be scared if I were Wen's Para right now, because they're starting to get aggressed in upon. The waves are already pushed up pretty far, and again, Tulsa goes back to his patented split pushing on Dibs, because when you have a global ultimate, why not use it?
Yep, and BOB is actually in a really good position right here, because as soon as this minion wave gets cleared up, they're going to be able to back off, take... Oh wait, no, the Spirit Well is locked. Yeah, I can't see with this resolution, but...
Yeah, the Spirit Well is locked.
Spirit Well is locked. They actually recently took that too, so they're not going to be able to do that. So it looks like their only goal is going to be to siege this for now, and they're probably going to do a really good job of it, especially with Tulse being a constant pressure up in that top lane, pushing in the minions. And we see the Striders have already broken the base. They're going after one core. Doesn't look like Where's Para is going to be sending anyone back for that. After all, the health core is the least important of the cores. It doesn't actually help zone, it doesn't help do CC, it doesn't help with damage. It only helps you stay alive a little bit longer, so it's not quite as important as any of the other cores. That's why they placed it out in front. But Tulse is still going to be there, and at this point, I don't even know if he needs his ultimate to get to the fight. He could, well, at the same time, it does give him a huge power buff, so it would still be 100% worth it for him to ult into the fight.
Yeah.
But it looks like the core is almost going down. Spinal is going to be able to kill off the last few minions there. Beardish going in a little ham right there. He's going to be able to get out, but at the cost of about a third of his health.
Yeah, and they're gonna need to be careful about how many more times they dive over that wall. So now the super minions are starting to reach the base, and again, this isn't the best clearing defensive comp. They've been able to clear, but very slowly 50 Shades of Alpha is getting damaged out onto that turret. And now the first core has gone down, and they're going to need to be very, very careful about how they decide to, split up their forces to clear. Because, again, they don't have the best clearing mechanics with these Shapers. Tulsa's just going to continue to push. It's why he's built up so much power. He's got that destruction and the pain to help him clear out those waves. And just I'm waiting for the engagement, or whether or not it's going to come down to them just leaving the tower because Tulsa's pushed down too many cores on his own.
Yeah, that's gonna have to be what it is. Tulsa can do whatever he wants up in the top lane, and he's gonna be able to escape no matter what because he's got his ultimate and a bunch of shields. And on top of that, that draws people up. We're already seeing Beardish and Spinal Dash every now and again going up to start clearing some of those Striders out, and every time they do that, the BOB gets a little bit of extra time with the binding to take it down a little bit lower. It's sitting at a little over half health right now, a little bit in between a half and a third, and Tulsa is still up at the top lane, pushing out as much as he can. Spinal goes up to it, but it looks like the rest of BOB is going to start rotating up, and everything is going to go, back to normal. And we're gonna rinse and repeat here.
I mean, that's the way to win in a match like this. When you're playing a MOBA and you have that sort of methodical position where you can just sit there and slowly whittle them down, why risk it? You have everything in your favor. You can just slowly pressure them. Granted, eventually that Parasite is going to run out and they're going to have to make an engagement. But at this point, they've taken a free core and just kept that team busy. And the minion waves are starting to stack. The Striders are entering the base to the point at which they can stop the Wen's para minion waves from really going anywhere. Tulsa's been continuously clearing that pretty much for free. Now he is getting a little bit of pressure on him. Beardish is there, but Beardish can't really hurt Tulsa. Tulsa's actually got a little bit of tankiness there. He's got his prosperity. He's drawing targets. And now they should be able to bring down that last tower. There's a huge stack of minions there, and they've actually decided to accelerate the pace. The Striders are going to stop coming, and in goes British into the back line on top of Tulsa, doing a little bit of damage. Nice hook in onto 50 Shades of Alpha. Uzi Tuzi has just been shut down, but 50 Shades of Alpha is still alive. That is the key. If they keep him from dying, Mistrag is in the middle of that fight. He has already burned his ultimate, and out comes that line of fire. That's going to zone out so many members from BOB. Oh, 50 Shades of Alpha is still alive, and they pick up Beardish. Now, is he going to be brought down a little bit more? Actually, no, he's going to fall, and Tyrese is going to be able to pick up a kill. That's going to be the kill onto Tulsa. Can they get McScrag? He should be able to run away. Out comes the ultimate from a monk, and that is going to be another kill going over. So, although they were able to continue the siege, they kind of got overzealous, and they might have needed to give it a little bit more time.
Yeah, and part of that is actually really good play by Where's Para as well, because what they did in the bottom lane in regards to that tower is, even though Tulsa was pushing top the entire time, what they did was they said, all right, as soon as we clear this wave, you two are going up there and you're going to stop the Striders. And what that does is make sure that there's no minion wave for BOB to push into the binding with. There's no minion wave to tank the tower while they hit it, while Whereas Para is missing members of their team. So really good play right there in terms of the timing of that. And I think they're going to be able to pick up this Parasite afterwards as well. McScrag is down so that they have no threat of any sort of Vanquish steal. Zillies is going to be trying to do anything he can. He's very tanky though, so he's going to be able to tank up quite a bit, stun people all around the board.
Comes the Amaranth, a nice wave!
Oh my god, the wave!
OT Tootsie picks up a kill, and Zillies picks up the double kill. That who needs a
Just look
Vanquish?
at Spinal's face. Oh wow.
I think I remember Spinal mentioning, I was in his chat and he's like, make sure that you're just like, are you gonna be watching my face with that? With just like when Zillies just ruins the game, just ruins everything, and him and Uzi Tucci just walk in there. They don't have the Vanquish. They don't need the Vanquish. They're able to just walk up and use Amaranth's Burst to pick up 3 kills and the Parasite, and that could be game.
That could very well be game. Extremely good play right there, and that's really part of the danger of Amaranth, is that she can 100 to 0 people really easily, and when you're not at 100% health, it becomes even easier. So she was able to pick off the squishy targets with her ultimate, do a lot of damage, clean up with her Q, and that was a really, really good para turn right there. And Zillies did a very good job as well of keeping people stun locked the entire time too, because that was a really huge factor as well. Zillies used his ultimate on Mara. He was able to get stuns down, he was able to tank up quite a bit, and that really put people in position to get knocked up by the Amaranth wave and completely destroyed there. So the puzzled look on Spinal's face is over. He's still kind of shaken about that, but
Just like, how did this happen?
it's like as soon as it happened, his mouth was wide open for the next 30 seconds. It was, oh wow, such a great play over there by Bob.
Yep, and looking towards the end of this match, we're reaching a point where, you know, the items are starting to become, you know, a problem. You're getting a lot more tier 3 items on the side of Bob. They've got the Striders pushing up. They were able to get 2 cores for free, like pretty much for free, with, you know, just pretty much one wave of Striders. They should be able to pick up all of their buffs. Looks like Tulsa. I thought Tulsa was gonna steal away the haste buff, but he's just setting that up for 50 Shades of Alpha, who will be able to walk over and pick that one up pretty quickly. Clearing out buffs. Power buff going over to Amaranth. Resilience buff going over to the side of going over to McScrag on the Salus. So setting up for the final play, and Dibs has actually gone with 1 tank item and then damage because he realized he needed to split push, and that was really, really smart of him. He didn't go the standard duress build that we see on a lot of supports right now, because duress is very, very strong, but Tull's showing us
Team fight heavy.
It's team fight heavy, but Tull's showing us you don't really need duress if, you know, you've got Dibs. You can do other things like push all day long and just not care. So this should be the final push if BOB are able to bring down this core without losing too many members. Actually, 50 Shades of Alpha is just destroying this, and so much damage between Tulse and Utsi Tutsi. That was brutal. All that's left is really that laser core, so they're defending on laser core. This is pretty much the best situation that Wens Para could be in terms of defenses, with, you know, the number of Striders in there, but it's just going down. In goes Beardish for the play. They are going to get a double hook back into the Calm ultimate. Utsi Tutsi going very low is in the middle of the back line, and they actually brought down 50 Shades of Alpha. A Mug is trying to get away. Dibs is chasing him down. Meanwhile, in the middle of the fight, you've got everybody else. Yes, we're back to the middle of the fight. McScrag doing a ton of damage. Did get off a multi-man ultimate. The question is how much damage can Tulse do here? He's really all their damage that's left. He's going to get down a little bit more, and it's not over. As Tulse goes down, and there aren't enough Striders in the base, the game is not going to end yet. They defended on Laser Core.
They defended on Laser Core, the notorious Laser Core, famous for defenses everywhere. That was a really good play on their part, and Laser Core actually impacted that fight, I think, 2 or 3 times, so they were able to get quite a bit of extra damage off of that, and that is the hold that they needed. They're not going to be able to get a Parasite off of this. Parasite's not going to be up for another 1.5 minutes, I want to say. So that's, or maybe it's 1 minute, but either way, it's unfortunate for them that they're not going to be able to make too much happen off of this, but they are definitely getting as many objectives as possible. We see Spinal rushing straight towards the top Spirit Well and King of Mask down in the bottom Spirit Well. The only last Spirit Well left is locked, so they can't quite get that, but they also don't have the pushing to take bindings, so at this point, this is the best they can do. Unfortunately, really late in the game, Spirit Wells aren't as important as, say, a Binding or a Parasite is, because Bindings and Parasites directly help you end the game, whereas the Spirit Wells give you more Vim and steal Vim from your opponents, but it's just not as impactful as having Striders every single wave to push down your opponent's base. So that was a good hold, but they're going to have to pull off another one of those plays if they want to actually get anything substantial out of it.
No, they did just get a core back up. They got up the health core, which really doesn't help all that much. Laser core is still up. I think the next one is Pew Pew laser core, multi-laser core, missile core.
No, next one is the Line of Fire.
Line of fire core.
Oh wait, no. That's not
either way,
it is the
either way,
core.
we have a little bit of an engagement about to start here. This Parasite is very, very low. Nice double wave. Yeah, that's going to be the end of Tyrese. He's going to pop off to the side of the map. Meanwhile, Spinal Dash in the middle of the fight, looking to try and lock down a target. 50 Shades of Alpha is burning straight through him. Uzi Tootsie goes down because he was dealing with a monk, but a monk falls, and that is going to be Tulse popping the ultimate, dashing onto Cutie. He's very, very tanky and should be able to walk away from this. Oh, somebody follow the other fight. It's actually going to be Tulse who's chasing down. Out comes the bubble speed, and that's the kill. Tulse picks up the kill on the Cutie. I wanted to see the duel going down with...
Alright, go back to Spinal Scam.
Duel going down with McScrag. And the spinal face. Just the spinal face.
That needs to become a Twitch face.
The spinal face. I'll see if I can cut that out. Beardish is dueling. He's looking for 50 Shades of Alpha. Can he get him? No! Tulse is there. He gets the shields. And that is going to be McScrag picking up the kill onto Beardish. That is going to be the end of the game. And Spinal's no longer making the face. But the spinal face, the end of the game. And that is going to be GG BOB. We're able to pick up the win here in the finals of the DGSL 2 championship. And hope you guys enjoyed the cast.
But do you know what we learned today?
Spinal makes a great O-face.
It's true. Dice is already on it. He's already like, yeah, combine these two faces, you got the spinal face. But yeah, that needs to become a Twitch emoticon thing, where you type in a face and it's like the spinal face for all subscribers of the Waystone Games channel or any Dawngate channel therein
I'll make it
related.
it for my channel.
Alright, cool. Sounds good. And what we did learn is that gods can bleed. BOB did end up losing one game in the best of 3 series, so will we see them actually fall in the ATG game? Like you were talking about a couple of teams that might have a chance. QTC has been looking stronger and stronger as they've progressed. Wen's Para is the ones that have challenged them today. Maybe they can pull out something different next time, and maybe they'll ban dibs.
Yeah, some of the other really good team options. Obviously, BOB, one of the strongest teams, pretty much winning everything right now. F that actually broke up, so there's a couple of pretty good players floating around. I've seen Azure is a new team that's come up. That's got a couple of pretty good players on it. A lot of the guys from SRT, that team actually broke up. SRT was sort of one of the 4th, 5th contenders. Also, new team that's just come through and is in the ATG, which I'm going to try and get all of you to go over and watch in a minute, is Based, made up of Base Ghosty, the glorious Donlu, who has 4 accounts in the top 50. Who else is in there? Base Jeff and a couple of others. That's a pretty good looking team. They've got a lot of really top leaderboard players. So I think that'll be another good team to watch. So thank you guys for sticking with us. We had a bunch of people at one point, but a good group of you guys have held through a bunch of our delays and problems. We're begging for that spectator mode. That is just going to be like the godsend of all spectator modes just when we get that. You guys should watch At What Cost, which will be tomorrow. We'll probably be doing the Tess episode, so we'll be doing an episode on Tess, who came out on Tuesday. Make sure you guys check out everything on the YouTube. Follow us on Twitter. Make sure you guys follow the channel. Thank you for still being here, Fredridleon. Whatever your name is. Bad with names, but
Fendrillin. I'm calling it right now, Fendrillin. If I'm wrong, then you can
send us a pronunciation of your name. Send us a pronunciation of your name if we're gonna mess it up all the time.
I will be terribly sorry if I mess that up, but I'm going to go ahead and guess that it's Fendrillin.
I don't actually know. But I'm gonna say everybody, spectator mode hype dice. Everybody here. I'm about to head over there. You guys should too. You guys should go support the guys over at ATG. You guys can even go into the chat and put an At What Cost raid, and we'll see if we can do like a little mini raid of like 10 people. Mini raid to the guys over at ATG who Aza hung out with them and played some games with them, and I've talked to them a little bit, and we may be helping out over at that tournament. So I'm gonna pop.
Yeah, they're nice guys.
Let's see. Yep, across the gate, 50 viewers. You guys should pop over there and watch. I'm about to turn that on, so let's go over there and make sure you guys type in At What Cost raid. And thank you for watching, guys.